Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor of AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is that childhood sweetheart, my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
One of the weirdest movies we're ever going to talk about. This is
I didn't know how to introduce you other than that. Like it's such a weird movie.
A hell of a follow-up to maybe one of the most successful runs in the history of cinema. Peter Jackson, The Lovely Bones. What a thing. What a thing.
I gotta tell you, I know last week we were on with Sean, which thanks again, Sean, for coming on and doing King Kong with us. We were trying to figure out like why Sean came on and did that, why, what was wrong with that movie. We had a little bit of like a, okay, we get this movie even though it's got flaws. Like it's not the worst movie in the world. And man, like to live in time between 2005 to 2010 when this time of Peter Jackson, where you're not riding off of Lord of the Rings, but you're riding off of King Kong, which is still a very successful
he's still
movie.
riding off of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, for sure. And you get this. And this is
you're showing your hand here.
Yeah, this is going to be, well, you already set it up at the top. This is going to be rough.
I said no, I didn't say rough. I said it's quite a thing.
It's well, so you're trying to play coy up at the top about it?
I might love it. I mean, whoa, what a thing. Whoa,
what a thing. Jay, this is the first time watch for you, right?
Yeah, first time.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you said yes to this whole journey so that we could get to this.
Yeah.
It was one of those, I was telling you and our guests before we started this, I was like, man, I'm so excited to finally get Jay to watch Lord of the Rings and see if he changes his mind on it and everything. We're going to talk about King Kong.
In some ways, these are the most interesting movies to talk about, though.
Yes. But then I was like, oh, shit, that's right. We got to do The Lovely Bones. And that's what we're here to do.
We don't cover many directors that have something like this on their resume that has just been
like a bomb,
just sort of rejected.
Well, I mean, at the time, Ishtar was rejected.
Oh, well, we did Ishtar. What? You're totally right. We covered Ishtar.
So
shame on me.
Yes, we literally
that was like 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago. Yeah. He's like, we don't ever really do that.
I never said ever. I said don't usually.
We don't usually do it 6 weeks ago. We're not alone, Jay. I think. Yeah, thank God we're not alone. She said yes to do this. So I want everybody to make clear. We didn't ask her to do this. Well, we did ask her. She said yes. We didn't force her to do it. She willingly participated in joining us for this Lovely Bones episode. It's our own Karen Peterson. Karen, welcome back to Director Watch.
This is my heaven.
Just to be clear, again, we did not entice her into some sort of weird playhouse underneath a cornfield. And we are not recording from there. This is voluntary.
Yeah, this is 100% voluntary.
This is where we do all the podcasts, actually, under a cornfield.
Yeah.
Just a weird setup, by the way. No one's just going to watch this guy for weeks on. It's got to take more than one night to do that, right? Like, nobody in that town drove by.
Dig that fort?
Yeah, dig that fort.
It's actually bizarre that the fort never comes back into play.
Yeah.
Which gets explained in the book, but
they didn't. Well, Karen did read the book.
Haven't read the book.
Years ago, right, Karen?
I did, but then I re-listened to the audiobook this week.
Oh, Jay.
Putting in the work.
We have somebody that prepared. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like
the floor with us.
But that's the thing. That would have been the first thing you do. Detective Christopher would have just dug it all back up, right? I'm just going to call Michael Imperioli Detective Christopher, his name of the character from The Sopranos. Just dig it up. It's the stuff's probably in there, or the weird shit that's at the bottom of it.
Well, they do mention at one point late in the film that they had found some, or I don't know if it's late. Anyway, they do mention at one point that they had found some stuff, but yeah, they didn't find the. Yeah, they didn't find the bunker.
We're gonna get.
They found her hat.
They found her hat. Yeah, just right on top. You know what I mean? Just like
Chekhov's beanie.
Chekhov's. Well, her mom
Yep.
made it for her. They had to leave that behind. We're gonna get into Lovely Bones here in a second. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about with this thing.
Or we could
Karen,
talk about other things.
well, Karen, I don't think that would be fair to the listeners. They've come here for a Lovely Bones episode.
Have they?
No, actually, that's fair because half the time they're like, "We're here for also the bullshit that goes along with this episode."
No, this is going to be a
This podcast.
very
very by the book,
focused
very focused episode.
episode.
No, we don't do that around here. Karen,
Yeah.
Peter Jackson,
hmm
as a filmmaker.
hmm
We've asked all of our guests the usual question that I ask everybody about these directors. What do you like about them? We'll get into a lot of what you don't like about them probably today. But your relationship with Peter Jackson in these movies, and Karen, if you want to, go ahead and throw in your experience or viewing experience with Lord of the Rings. We've been getting everybody's stories on what that franchise and that trilogy and that time period meant to them.
Yeah. So for me, Lord of the Rings was my first experience with Peter Jackson. I think most people can probably say that. I still have not seen The Frighteners. I've since seen Heavenly Creatures, which is good. But yeah, I kind of don't know what to say about Peter Jackson because obviously the Lord of the Rings trilogy is just such a phenomenal creation and such an experience to watch. I mean, even now, 20 plus years later, every once in a while, I'll just, have a Lord of the Rings day and I'll just turn on the whole trilogy. Always the extended versions, never the theatrical cut. Um, and I love those movies. I enjoy things like King Kong, but it's weird because I feel like he kind of just had this moment with Lord of the Rings and has never quite lived up to that before or since. And yeah, I think this movie that we're going to talk about is a perfect example of how he rode on this wave of goodwill because of Lord of the Rings and didn't recapture that magic.
I keep wanting to say that he's only made 2 movies since Lord of the Rings, and I just completely forget about the Hobbit movies.
I mean,
think
there's a reason for that.
when we talk about it next week, Jay, as a collective, I think that that's a fair statement.
And now he's a documentary filmmaker.
Yeah, dabbled in his own toys and his technology.
He's Werner Herzog.
But with like
every now and
with
then
the Beatles,
he'll do a scripted, and most of the time he just does,
he's
documentaries now.
No, he's just kind of living off of the residuals of Lord of the Rings because they released.
No, he's never gonna have to worry about money again. He just likes playing with his toys.
He had to go to court for those residuals. He worked hard for them, so
I mean, hey, he did
well earned.
I mean, half of the population in New Zealand and their tourist attractions would probably thank him since all those sets are still up there in New Zealand, Hobbiton, and all those places. Like, he should get a cut. It's his movies.
Look, shout out to Peter Jackson, though. He actually filmed some of this movie in America.
Oh, he did?
He really stepped out of his comfort zone. Yeah.
He was just like, you know what? New Zealand's not going to bite.
Most of it's still in New Zealand.
Is it still most in New Zealand? He couldn't help himself.
It's weird how much
thing in the world.
New Zealand looks like Philadelphia.
He shot King Kong in New Zealand, and it takes place in New York City. I mean, most of it takes place on an island, but then it takes place in New York City, and it is so artificial.
Well, Jay, as we all know, New Zealand does have dinosaurs. So
and some people call it the New York of Oceania.
Yes, yeah, that's I don't know who those people are, but yes,
Peter Jackson,
evidently. Well, does that mean the Beatles documentaries were shot actually in New Zealand? And it's
I'll tell you what, he didn't edit them from L.A. I'll tell you that much.
Do you think that's who Trump's really mad at? Is Peter Jackson? He's talking about all these movies
taking production away.
Yeah,
it's probably true.
He's probably like, these damn New Zealand people taking our hobbits.
I think he's really mad at Christopher Nolan.
That oof,
It's all
ooh,
about Nolan.
yeah, or James Cameron,
Him too.
probably.
Yeah, it's the ILM crew.
Yeah.
He's most mad at.
Where does Cameron shoot all that? Where's his like underwater bunker?
Pretty sure
Isn't
he
he shooting
shoots
in
those like
England?
I think he shoots them in the spaceship that Katy Perry and all them are on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Cruise and McQuarrie, they shoot all the missions like either in London or they shoot it all. Their production company is
Except
all
for when
in,
they go on location.
or when they go on location. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Because I
Um,
mean, but the Avatar movies are Weta.
yeah, right.
So yeah, those are Weta. They're not ILM. So I'm not actually sure
So
where they
he
shoot
might
that
be,
stuff.
well, he might be going a little back
I
and
know
forth,
he
right?
was filming some stuff in the UK, so
Yeah. I
Pandora. He
just,
shoots it on Pandora, by the way, is the
well,
answer.
yeah.
I think he just shoots into the Legion of the Legion of Doom, just underwater facility that no one else in the world can actually get to.
Yeah, he shoots it in that same like orb where the Meg takes place.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because every time he does an interview, he's like underwater. And I'm like, that's not just a screensaver. He's literally at the bottom of the ocean. I don't know. He has amazing Wi Fi. Just going to put that out there if he's doing that. But we're here to talk about Lovely Bones. We're really just going to
Manhattan Beach was the main shooting location of Avatar 2.
Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, Cali.
Manhattan Beach, California? Really?
Liar.
That's what it says on my
abso-
favorite website, wikipedia.com.
Absolutely lies. There's no way that was shot here. You know what's so interesting? I will say that, and like, not to like timestamp this or anything, but like the idea of him saying all this, coming off the heels of like where most people last season and the Oscar season were talking about like we need to shoot independent movies back here again. That's and have the ability to do that. The big films aren't the problem. They can shoot wherever the hell they want. They have the money to do so. That's not the issue. It's the smaller budget films. And it seems like we're getting closer to a good old fashioned censorship again. That you can't shoot here unless you shoot in America, and here's our terms and conditions. So
Yeah, and then now we're gonna have a say in the content of that. We're doing great, guys.
and John Voight is going to be the leader of the whole.
We're doing great.
The board. John Voight. So this is what Stallone, Gibson,
John
and
Voight, star of Megalopolis.
in Megalopolis, which was
You know what I still haven't seen? Megalopolis.
you still haven't seen Megalopolis?
Oh, wow.
I'm actually.
I don't know if I would say you should see it, but
Well, I mean,
need to see it.
that's kind of surprising for Jay.
Doesn't that feel like a movie I would be rushing to go see?
It feels
and yet here I am.
kind of.
it feels surprising because you're also a completist.
Yep.
You love Coppola's films.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen.
It's a big swing. You love big swings.
I don't think I've seen any 21st century Coppola movie.
Not many people have. That's why I think people were so jarred by the experience of Megalopolis because they're like, oh, I think we're going to get The Godfather. And that's not the type of film he's been making for like the last 20 years. It's also just not a good movie.
Live action filming for Avatar 2 and 3 would commence in New Zealand.
There it is.
Weta.
There it is. Oh, man. All right.
I'm trying to figure out how did they film in. Are there studios in Manhattan Beach?
Maybe.
There's got to
Maybe.
be.
I don't know. He probably
Right?
built them.
Well, everything's either
It's
also
James Cameron.
I saw that one thing there was like a podcast that Adam Scott and Rob Lowe were doing, and they were talking about Rob Lowe. He does that show on Fox, the game show on Fox or whatever that's called.
Oh yeah, the who can name the most things?
Yeah, the things game, whatever.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about, Karen? The Rob Lowe game show on Fox.
like they show a picture of Oprah and you have to name who it is, and then the next person sees a picture of Katy Perry. And
what is
they
that
have to
called?
name
Jay,
who it
look that up. Game show.
I
Rob
I don't know,
Lowe.
but there is a big Manhattan Beach studio
Okay.
for a lot of like just random post
The Floor.
stuff.
The Floor. Thank you, Jay. The Floor. And he was
Oh,
talking.
I've heard of that.
He was talking about how on The Floor that they shoot that in Ireland because it is extremely expensive to fly people now out to do a game show like that in Los Angeles and put people up and the stage and whatever to continuously do that, as opposed to how cheaper it is of a production to do that in Ireland. And it was the way they were talking about it, they were not happy about it. It sounded super sad. But
Yeah.
that's,
I
you
mean,
know,
every giant corporation in America is stashing billions of dollars in Ireland as well. So
yeah, you know, but like, also, here's a newsflash. Movies are not an American thing only. They are an international,
What?
I
a
think you need to
world
double
medium.
check that, man.
You guys don't agree? Like movies don't only exist in America?
We invented them, they're ours.
You sure about that, Karen? You want to fact check that one?
The first movie was
Oh,
Wizard of
actually,
Oz.
it's very much not true.
The first movie was Wizard of Oz? Is that what
And
you just
now,
said?
yeah, and the most recent one was whatever
Honora?
the superhero one was called.
Oh, Thunderbolts.
The new Avengers.
Yes, that
Oh,
yes.
That's
The new
did you see the
Avengers.
new
That's what
did
it's
you
called
see the
now.
new posters, Ryan?
I'm so fucking mad at that. It's such a fucking money ploy. Like
Honestly, I'm into it actually.
you're into this. You're
I'm
into
weirdly
this
into
like
it. Yeah.
this like sleight of hand bullshit. You would.
Sneaky.
You're such
I'm
a
into
magic
it.
guy. You would fucking want to do that. You would be like, what if? I can imagine Jay so fucking excited at sitting at Marvel, just waiting to get in a meeting with Kevin Feige and be like, okay. You know that movie Thunderbolts we got coming out? Yeah, Jay. What if we put an asterisk at the end of it? But hear me out. After the
Well,
first week in the box office, and it's a decent box office return, we switch the whole title and everything in the movie, and we just call it The New Avengers.
I'm gonna pull a Quentin,
Asterisk, the new Avengers.
Asterisk
I'm
The
gonna
New Avengers, and put a dollar sign on the at the S of Avengers.
I'm gonna pull a Quentin Tarantino and say I reject your hypothesis because you said I can imagine Jay being so excited at a Marvel dot 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 dot. Incorrect. I cannot imagine me being excited about
You would be for the paycheck. Don't lie.
You know what? That's a good point.
Yeah, you shut your mouth. You would, your family and your kids would have their college and their kids' college paid for and then some. You wouldn't have to worry about it.
ILM also did some VFX on Avatar. It
Oh,
wasn't just Widow.
so they just kind of, well, I mean,
That's
yeah,
an all hands on deck situation.
he worked with everybody to make
Yeah.
that damn movie. Like it's
He worked with who's the special effects villain in Spider-Man?
Doc Ock.
No, that Jake Gyllenhaal played.
Oh,
Oh,
Mysterio.
yeah, who's that guy?
Yeah, he worked with
Mysterio, yeah.
Mysterio.
Jesus Christ. Hell,
It
he
would have
worked
been pretty good if I pulled it.
If you
first
pulled that
thing.
one out, that
kinda-
would have been really good.
That was
Yeah, I would have been really
deflation.
proud of
It
you if
was
that's
really
the case.
deflating.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But then you had to ask for help. See,
Yeah.
that's why you won't work at Marvel because
That's
you
why
don't
I would
know
never
them.
win the floor.
Yeah,
I can't come up with that stuff off the top of my head.
that's true. It's a very under pressure sort of thing. You watch people, and it's like the dumbest things that they lose.
They're
that-
mostly stupid. I saw somebody have to do punctuation, and there were some punctuation symbols that I was like, how the
Jay-
hell did you know what that is called?
Jay, you're admitting as a writer on a staff here.
I'm gonna
a
pull
website.
up some of them, and you tell me what they're called.
And Jay's gonna go and just admit, I don't know what punctuation is as a writer anymore. Let's talk about Lovely Bones.
Okay.
This is type of God damn it, Karen. All right, okay. This was much cooler than talking about that. Karen,
Academy Award nominated
Hey!
The Lovely Bones.
hey, don't spoil it for Jay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Even I knew that.
I didn't
knew-
say what
I
it was
knew-
nominated for.
I
That's
knew
true.
I knew a couple of them. Actually, I only knew one of them.
Okay. So Karen, 2009,
2009, wide release 2010.
All right.
Yeah.
Where were you 15 years ago, Karen? Where did you see the film? I know you saw it in theaters. I know you were there opening weekend to see those lovely bones. What was your relation? Well, you read the book and you listened to the audio book. What's your relationship with the book? The idea of Jackson doing this at the time, were you excited about it? Did it intrigue you based off the material? And then what did you think about the film? And on the rewatch, what do you think about it still?
Yeah, I liked the book, which originally came out while the Lord of the Rings films were being released. I don't know when I actually read the book, but when I heard that Jackson was going to be adapting it, I was just like, oh, cool. Like, obviously he knows what he's doing with film adaptations. So I'm kind of excited about this. And I think the book is good. There are some qualms that I have with it, but I thought it was good. And I don't specifically remember watching it the movie opening weekend, but when I did watch it, I was just like, whoa, 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 what is happening here? I feel like, and it's weird because he made the Lord of the Rings. It's amazing. But I feel like somehow he completely missed the point of the book in adapting it for this movie, which is so strange. And I don't really know what happened. It's like he got so caught up in sort of this idea of the visuals that he could use, which are very much not part of how I read the book. But yeah, and it's like he just got so excited about the what he could do with computers to tell this story that he forgot about the people.
I love that. I love you're like, he got so excited by computers.
I guess. I don't know. But that's how it feels.
No, I don't think you're wrong.
I saw someone say that that Peter Jackson's imagination of the afterlife is a 2000s early 2000s Windows screensaver.
No shit. That is exactly what I was thinking about when I was watching this. It's
Mhm.
like, my God, this is what a MacBook presentation looked like at the
Mhm.
time. Good Lord.
Yeah.
J Dog, I know you didn't read the book, sadly. You didn't get to it. You didn't read it at the time.
I did
you?
not.
You didn't read it at the
No.
time, did you?
Mm-mm.
You only learned how to read in college, honestly, to be fair. Um, but this is your first time watching this for this series. And I've asked you to do a lot during this
Can you
series.
tell me what this is called? What is that? This is the
Paragraph?
punctuation. No.
What is that? Oh, is it like a space?
What
It's
is
to
it
indicate a
called?
paragraph, but yeah, what's the name of it?
Pilcrow.
Pilcrow.
Oh.
Somebody
Okay.
got that right on the floor.
Did they really?
Yeah, very impressive.
Good for them. Did they move on? Did they win the round?
You know what? Didn't watch the whole episode. Saw it on a TikTok.
So,
You could have
okay.
given me 1,000 years to guess, and I
Yeah.
never would have come up with it.
Exactly. Somebody
Hey, at
got
least
it.
you would have been
It's
around
impressive.
for 1,000 years.
Well, the afterlife, you know.
Good on you, Gandalf. You know
But
what
if
I mean?
you asked me who every member of the crew that went into space was, of the girl boss space crew, I could tell you.
Well, before we get your thoughts on the Lovely Bone, Jay, who are all the 5 members of the crew that went to
I
space?
actually don't know. Katy Perry,
Gail King?
Oprah's friend. Yeah.
Oprah's friend? Really? Are
I
we
couldn't
still
remember her
at that
name,
point?
Jay.
Jesus
Remember her
Christ,
name.
Jay.
I couldn't recall her name.
It's Gail King's pretty big. Like
She's
she's
pretty big. I mean, I should have known that.
she's like in every interview now. Like she's
Remember when she had that very short-lived show with Charles Barkley
yeah,
on CNN?
it
Well,
was
that sounds
good.
interesting.
They called it King Charles.
King Charles. That's
Okay,
a good
so
name. That's a good
Jeff
name.
Bezos's fiance was on there.
What's her name?
Well, I mean, I have it right in front of me.
Jay, for $1,
Lauren
name a
Sanchez.
woman.
Aisha
Any woman.
Bo,
Aisha.
former NASA rocket scientist.
Okay, so that's someone
Amanda
qualified.
Nguyen, research scientist.
Okay.
And Carrie Ann Flynn, a film producer.
Half of these are okay, and the other half are like, what the fuck? You know, Gail got so defensive. But you know who we haven't heard any thoughts about for that trip? Oprah. You haven't heard a single word from Oprah.
Look,
Begs the question: are Gail and Oprah on the outs?
I bet Oprah's been to space by herself, though.
Yeah.
You know,
She'd
She's
bring.
done it.
No, she'd bring Stedman.
Would
Maybe
she?
they
She
both
doesn't
went.
bring him to anything.
Yeah, I think, but
It's
that's
true.
like a
It's a little
private
bit of
event,
A little
not
bit
a
of a
public
Ryan
event.
Gosling, Ava Mendes situation.
That's true. That's very true. Anyway,
Speaking of Ryan Gosling,
I was going to say we'll bring that up later. We're not going to bring that up right now.
all right, it's
You're
very
damn.
important. It's maybe the most
It is
interesting
important.
part of the whole movie.
It really is.
It might have changed the entire thing.
For
It
the
wouldn't have.
No, it wouldn't have.
Maybe a
but
little
it,
bit. It
it would
would
have
a
been
little bit. It would have been a little bit better. Jay, thoughts on the Lovely
yes.
Bones?
Yeah, the Lovely Bones. I mean, I'm kind of with Karen, and I'm kind of aligned
Whoa.
with some of the stuff that I've said in other episodes. It's just Peter Jackson gets obsessed with his little toys. And it seems like I think the first 45 minutes of this movie are a pretty decent like child abduction thriller. Very straightforward, kind of like PG-13 Prisoners or something. It's totally fine and effective. Uh
Prisoners looks way better than this movie, though. I'll
well, it
give
was
it
shot
that.
by Roger Deakins, which is helpful.
Who shot this?
Was it was his guy, right? Yeah, Andrew Lesney. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's his
he
guy.
did Kong. Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks fine. I mean, it looks fine. And then you get to heaven, and it all of a sudden just becomes a tech exercise. I don't find the visuals. And look, I'm a sucker for like spiritual depictions of some sort of. Terrence Malick's my favorite filmmaker, for God's sake. All right. So I have a weakness for sort of this kind of depiction of
The Afterlife.
spirituality
Yeah.
and yeah, however you want to describe it. But here it just essentially turns into like fantasy depictions, and I don't really track the metaphors of what they're trying to portray, and it all feels so artificial. I think that's the biggest problem I have with it is that it never feels like something recognizable. Which, maybe a story about the afterlife shouldn't feel recognizable, but it at once is like things that you recognize, like trees and gazebos and things like that, but even that stuff feels flubbery. And for me, it just completely the film collapses in on itself. And additionally, there's there's a lack of drama and tension to the story because you already know who the bad guy is. And so it's not really who done it, it's how do we prove it? And that for me, certainly in this instance, is a less interesting exercise, especially when the way that people discover who done it is just vibes, where Mark Wahlberg is feel like looking at a rose and he's like, "Oh my God, this guy did it." And I understand it's sort of like a communication with his daughter to a certain extent, but it in the moment it is just this dead-eyed Mark Wahlberg being like, "Whoa, I cannot believe this. This is insane.
Oh, I
This
have
is the guy
things to
that
say
did it."
about that.
Um, but it is at the end of the day, I find it to be pretty obnoxious because it is so obsessed with progressing visuals first and foremost, which, Ryan, I'm an absolute sucker for visuals as well. Like that's the thing that film does that nothing else can do is show you images. However, the images here are complicated for the sake of being complicated rather than communicating any kind of sincere sense of emotion or kind of honest love and affection and sadness, whatever it may be. It just feels so artificial to me as soon as we enter this. They kind of refer to it as heaven, but it's really sort of purgatory, more
I was
like
going to say
an in
Purgatory
between.
is a better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't work for me. And Stanley Tucci should never have hair. What are we doing?
Okay. So I saw this movie in the theaters 2010, January, in that winter time period. It was one of the handful of first films I saw with my girlfriend, now wife. And this movie got me on probation from picking movies for a while because, and she like loved Lord of the Rings. She really liked King Kong. She was like, okay, well, it's Peter Jackson. You know,
I
not
think that's a
really.
fair,
Yeah. Right.
no.
But she always gets cold in theaters. And so we bring a blanket from home sometimes for her.
Hmm.
And she like, this isn't a movie you want to snuggle up to and watch. You know what I'm saying?
It
And
is not.
she didn't know a thing about it. First 45 minutes start kicking in. She goes, this is so boring and so bad. About hour mark, she's asleep. She wakes up about 20 minutes left and goes, "What has happened?" And I looked at her and I said, "Not that much.
Not much.
Not
Yeah.
much." And
But
I
also, we
just
love a movie where nothing happens as well.
I told her
It can work.
they can
Yeah.
work, not this one. I asked her tonight before we recorded, is this the worst movie we've ever seen as a couple? And she says it's easily up there in the top 5. And she was like, "Oh, I had a really rough day at work today." Da, 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 da. And I said, "Well, I had to watch The Lovely Bones." She goes, "You win. You had a rough day." I think this movie,
I don't think it's like that. It's not
It's not
offensively bad.
excruciating
No.
to me.
to me, it was. I felt every minute of this thing. And it was because in my
It is
memory,
long. It is long as hell.
in my memory, I was like, it wasn't as bad as I remember it. It was one, but maybe that's just also me wishing that it wasn't as bad as I remember it. And I just remember watching this thing, and good God, does this thing feel so long? Like it feels like a 90-minute movie
That's what-
put into a 2:15, you know, um, runtime. And for me, the whole time I was like, what, to your point, Jay, you talked about this movie would be more effective as a thriller, right? If,
Or if they had just adapted the book.
well, I don't know about the book. I never read the book.
Yeah,
And
I'm interested to hear about
Karen,
the
maybe
comparisons to the book.
maybe your thoughts, or maybe the book has changed from what I feel like the movie should have structured it as. But I feel like the movie should have, for drama and pacing's sake, have taken the go down into the cellar and the murder and abduction scenes and put it at the end of the film, or closer to the end of the film, and had this be like about a missing girl, the family sort of crumbling, and make it more about that internalized family, and then branched it out to the community once Wahlberg starts,
Well, you just want
looking
like the
around.
very literal version of this movie,
Well, I think
which is
that
the whole reason that Peter Jackson wanted to make it, was because of the abstractions that he could
yes,
work
but
with.
his abstractions have no point to them. There's nothing
Yeah,
really.
it's tech
it-
for tech's sake.
It's really, there's honestly, no offense to Saoirse and her sequences. Watching it this time, I was like, there is no point to any of this.
I mean, Weta is the best and worst thing that ever happened to Peter Jackson.
Well, it's not even just about the technology. Like from a story standpoint, Jay.
Well, it's because it gets swallowed up by that stuff.
Yeah, literally in water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Karen, I don't know for you, and I'll get this over to you here just in one sec. But for me, I just felt like emotionally the journey of these characters, it rang so hollow. And I think you're supposed to feel for this family and Susie's conclusion, and the comeuppance, or maybe the final sort of beats of the end of the film or whatnot, and none of it just ever glues together. And I felt like
Tucci's toupee did, though.
yeah,
That
yes,
glued
it
on
did.
nice.
Yes, it did, buddy. And I mean, we're going to talk about Tucci and just that performance, and we'll talk about all these performances here in a sec. But like, I think a movie like this should really make you feel something, make you have something to say. And this movie has nothing to say. If you want to say King Kong because of its like technical, like we talked about it last week, like what is that movie trying to say? It's copying a lot from the original film, and its technology is really pushing it forward. And if you wanted to make a case for like, okay, but that movie still has this to say, this to say, this to say, honestly, Jay, I think you could start to make that argument, because then if you look at it in the case of Lovely Bones, this movie has nothing to say. And I'm not
I
saying
don't
it's
think King Kong has a ton to say either, but it's more, it has genuinely thrilling moments.
yes, and this movie is
What King Kong has to say is,
gold.
wow, isn't King Kong awesome? Remember
Yeah.
that movie that I love?
remember this property, remember what we could do with film and technology and like and all that. This movie is like, what if I got the director of Heavenly Creatures to make a movie with this technology and suck every interesting bit of drama and contextuality within those characters in the same runtime? And it's honestly the worst thing and worst tendencies of like of watching Hollywood take an independent director and what made them so great in those independent films
This is the
and
guy
put
that
it on.
made Lord of the Rings, by the way.
No, I
Not
understand.
exactly an independent filmmaker, but
Well, he was at one point, like,
he was.
and this is very much more. This isn't in the Lord of the Rings. This isn't in King Kong territory. This is in Heavenly Creatures territory.
I
And
think the most interesting way to look at this film is in relation to Heavenly Creatures.
yeah,
That was kind of my takeaway after it finished.
and weirdly, that movie feels extremely
Sort of a mirror,
personal because of the fact that it is
and that's an
about this
effects heavy
story.
movie.
It is. It, visually speaking, that dream world is far more aesthetically interesting and pleasing than the one this afterlife that we see here.
The
And
question
there's
is, if he had had the resources, would Heavenly Creatures have been closer to the Lovely Bones than the
I don't know.
great
Well,
Heavenly Creatures that we got?
but there's a
Or
purpose
is
to
him
that.
having limited resources the reason that he was so great earlier on? And then Lord of the Rings was this tipping point into, you know, the latter portion of Peter Jackson's career.
Yeah, but that dream world, that fourth dimension or whatever that the girls escape to, that is thematically purposeful
It is, but it's
to
mostly
everything.
guys in costumes.
I know. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think that in the yes, even if you add CGI to that, Jay, and you add a budget like this, I think from a story standpoint, that world would still serve a purpose. This one doesn't. You don't get anything out of this experience from her. And I
No, I agree, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
is it because he had more resources that that is the case? And I think that's a possibility. Where
I
he's
don't
always been so
Sometimes
obsessed
when you
with this
just have to
stuff.
imagine because you don't have the money to really do this,
mhm,
sometimes it forces you to be more creative and inventive in your storytelling.
yeah. But
Yeah,
Karen,
that's just my little mini take.
Mhm.
But
it seems like there is a massive difference in the way that the story is told in the book. And maybe Karen, I'm wrong, but maybe is there more of like an emotional through line and or something in the book that makes the storytelling device purposeful there, at least for the reader at that point.
Yeah. It's so interesting because like there are like a lot of Susie's narration in the movie actually comes directly from
Like
the
lifted
book.
right there.
Yeah, like and lines of dialogue, there's so much and entire scenes and the story beats. Like it follows the book. It's like it gets all of the specific plot points. It
Hmm.
it does those. So the movie it's weird to say this doesn't feel like the book at all when it's the exact same plot and the same
It's
characters,
got
but
like the skeleton of the book, is what you're
it
saying.
does, yeah. And where I feel like why I said that I feel like he really missed the point of the book is because uh I mean, just like in the movie, in the novel, we know early on what happened to Susie, how it happened, who did it. We know all of that. It's not a mystery. But the difference is that she is, she's sort of kind of she's involved in this world. She's still kind of she's watching her family, she's watching her friends, she's observing everything from this piece of heaven, which she constantly throughout the book refers to as my heaven. Um, she's not there alone, and it's not just her and this one girl. Like there's this whole structure and this whole kind of other existence, I guess, that's happening with Susie. And there's lots of other people around. There's these, and the place that she's at looks very much like her world, her earthly world, but there's this detachment. And the thing is that listening to her narrate the story, it's like she even has an intake worker named Franny that is just not in the
oh, I
movie.
love afterlife
Um,
bureaucracy. That's
yeah,
fun stuff.
yeah,
Matter
it's
of life
great.
and death,
It's
you
great.
know.
but she has this conversation, and Franny is sort of this mentor to her and is there to be a resource, and she asks, like, what else is there besides this? And there is something else. There's more. And Susie's world does kind of, her heaven does expand as she learns and stuff. But the reason that she doesn't move on is not because she's like so angry that she died, or because she, wants to make sure that her murder gets solved. It's because she just loves her family so much and her friends that she just feels this attachment. She's not ready to move on. And because she just is not ready to move on from these people that she loves, that's ultimately where she's able to sort of help bring closure to these other stories too. And so that's where it's like, I feel like the movie just really is missing that emotional piece of Susie. And it really kind of, it turns it into something that's much more about the crime than about the
Yeah.
people.
She's the like Nancy Drew ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that scene that you were referencing with the flower, and like her kind of making her dad think that he sees it bloom, or maybe it does bloom and then dies right away. We're not totally sure what's happening there. The thing is that there's a scene in the book where she's trying to communicate to her dad and tell him that this is the guy that did it. And she's thinking, like, if I could just make this flower bloom, then he would know this is me. But she can't do that. And instead, her dad is having a conversation with George Harvey. And in that conversation, he picks up on something that is where he knows, like, oh, this is the guy that did it. And then so much of the story is him being obsessed with bringing this guy to justice, not like what happens in the movie where he's just trying to find, and he's just throwing everything at the wall to try to figure out who this is. Like, he knows early on who did it, and he's spending all of his time trying to bring this guy down. It just makes for a very different emotional experience, and the book has a depth to it that the movie just never gets to.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it sounds to me like in the movie they spend more time in the like last two acts of the movie. It sounds like they spend more time in the afterlife just because Peter Jackson does want to flex those visuals and stuff. And that
Mm-hmm.
feels like the stuff that should feel a little more thematically hefty.
Yeah.
But to me, that stuff just feels so hollow. It
Mm-hmm.
just feels like again, sort of a tech exercise.
Yeah.
And I, I don't know. I just, I have a hard time watching every movie from the Frighteners, excluding Lord of the Rings. Then he does Lord of the Rings, and it's like, oh my God, knocks it out of the park. What a revelation. And then he does King Kong. Um, and in King Kong, I'm like, why did he make this movie? With the Frighteners, I'm sort of like, why did he make this movie? And then with this film, I'm kind of like, why did he make this movie? It feels devoid of any real personality to me other than a guy who loves his little toys.
Yeah.
Um, And that's a bummer because I do think there's a lot of meat on this bone. And this
Mm-hmm.
was
A lovely bone.
a very sought after adaptation.
Yeah.
The list of people who almost made this movie is pretty wild. The most interesting of which is Ryan, a person who we've covered on this podcast before. Do you know this?
No, can I guess?
You can.
Is it Todd Haynes?
Lynn Ramsey.
Oh, Lynn Ray. Ooh. Honestly,
Hmm.
that movie would be really fucking good. But it would be not a studio movie, which is what this
You're
thing
not going to
is.
believe it. They thought it was too weird. Not commercially viable.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, I can't wait to see her new
The thing
film
that's
now.
interesting about that though is and something that I don't remember thinking that much about, when this came out, but this week I was really thinking about it. So the audiobook version that I listened to is read by the author. So Alice Sebold starts with an introduction where she talks about how one of the things that inspired her to write the story was her own experience with sexual assault. And so I was thinking about that and how, I mean, she describes what happens to Susie, and it's yeah, it's pretty explicit, but it's done in a way where there's I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but Um, it's just you can really feel that it's written by someone who has this experience, who understands this. And so then for Peter Jackson stepping into to bring the story to the screen, no disrespect to Peter Jackson. I think that he seems to be a lovely person. I've never met him,
Or
but
even Fran Walsh or Philippa
right,
Bones.
He does seem
who
like a cool
co-wrote the
guy.
adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's just something that it does turn into something much different. It feels like it's detached from this girl's experience because it's being made
Yeah.
by someone who doesn't have that and can't doesn't have it to refer to, doesn't have that frame of reference and that understanding.
Well, I think Karen, that's a great point, and it was something that I was thinking of when I was watching it because I was like, okay, because Jay, I when I posted my review on Letterboxd and it was a star lower than yours, I was like,
Wow.
um,
My stars. I didn't have that many stars on it.
no,
Oh,
no,
I had two.
you had two, I got one.
I didn't even give it stars, but that's okay.
I went into, I was like, I was thinking about what you kind of wrote there in the end of it, Jay, which is just like about the connection with heavenly creatures, and I was thinking a lot then about purpose, because that's the thing that Sean, you and me talked about with King Kong. It's like, what is the purpose of making a movie like this? Same
And
with
then for
Brian.
Sean, it was, what is the purpose of me being on the Star
Yeah,
Wars?
we really like got circled around to that. And then like with Brian, when we talked about the Frighteners, I mean, like I can understand why he made the Frighteners. He was making like sort of like it was a script idea for
That was almost an
Zemeckis.
audition.
It was really an audition. Like it wasn't necessary. And then Zemeckis was just like, I actually think you should do this. And
Because
so it
Zemeckis
was
loves his toys as well.
exactly. And so I don't necessarily think that the Frighteners is an interesting misstep, but it led us to
Frighteners is fun.
yeah, it's an
pretty
interesting film as a and you know
It
and
does also get entirely bogged down by tech.
it does, but still as a story standpoint, it's interesting. But watching Heavenly Creatures on this rewatch and then watching this film, the thing that is different between this movie and that movie is because, and I know we've joked about it a lot on this series, this man's connection to his homeland and connection to what that's horrific event in New Zealand that those two girls did shook a nation. And how that there's a sense of responsibility as someone from there to tell that story, to tell it right, to try to explain like the motives of Linsky and Winslet's characters and really understand the events leading up to this tragedy. And it's so well it actually this movie grew appreciation for me for Heavenly
Yeah,
Creatures because it's like
I agree with you on that.
to your point, Karen. This is the guy and Fran Walsh, his wife, and partner on film. They co-wrote that script together, and so I think that's the difference. And it's not necessarily just the act of any of them going through something that like Susie's gone through. It's personal, something personally inside like of that story, a connection that gets them into the deeper layers of it. When you then watch this movie, that's completely stripped, and this is actually even more than King Kong because King Kong was his favorite movie he ever saw when he was a kid. He saw that thing on the screen. He had a Sammy Fableman's moment when he watched that, and it blew his world. Whether we like it or not, I can at least find a personal connection as to
He
why
sort
he
of
wants
had
to
to
do
get
that.
that out of his system.
Exactly. So in a way, pass on that as well. When you watch this movie, you go, why did you do this at all? Why did someone who had all the power, had literally could do anything on the planet? Why did you tell this story? And then why did you tell this story in honestly the most conventional, boring, uh, uninteresting way of doing it? And again, I haven't read the book, Karen. I'm sure that the book is far more interesting and compelling into Susie and the afterlife and much more thrilling than the movie that were presented. But
This movie was optioned 2 years after it came out. Like they
yeah,
got a manuscript. It was like Jurassic Park style. Like this
yeah,
is an undeniable
Mhm.
adaptation that we need to make.
And
One of
and
the
and it doesn't
Go ahead.
always have to come down to this, but it does feel that it is missing a sense of purpose and a sense of real passion behind it. And
Yeah.
it feels like a real thankless, like put director for hire almost situation. It doesn't even feel like him at all outside of the technical aspects. That's totally him. And those are the things that don't work at all. And, you know, I hesitate all the time and be like, it doesn't, you know, you don't always have to have every movie told by the group in which the story of the film is being made of. But in this, and there were two female writers on this script. So it's like, you really can't even default that as well. But it does feel like it's missing maybe a personal touch, maybe an American touch, maybe a female touch behind the camera, or at least a you know, or something, because, or maybe it's just bad material for the wrong director.
He
And
was
that's,
passionate about this movie, but he was passionate about the heaven part of the
he was
story.
passionate about the wrong aspects of it, which
Yeah,
are, you
that's what I
can't get
think
to
about it.
that part without the other part, which is the real reason
The soul of
to
the story.
the sword
Lord of
of
the
the,
Rings
yeah,
has so much soul to it.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's the thing. Like when Susie's in the novel, when Susie's talking and describing what she's seeing, describing her observations, even of Mr. Harvey, there's this empathy. Like she's talking about observing her mom having an affair, and because she's, you know, kind of in this heaven place, she sees things in a much different way. Like if she were alive and walked in and saw her mom making out with this guy, she probably would have been really pissed and probably would have reacted to it. But instead, she's observing this and she's able to see things in a different way. So there's just this
That sounds good.
empathy that is just kind of overarching the whole story, that is part of why this is such a more rich emotional book than it is a movie. He never captures that empathy.
Agreed. I do. One moment I did find effective was when Mark Wahlberg crushes all the ships in a bottle. Okay. I found that effective.
Can
And
we
then
talk?
there's the last one that they kind of worked on together a little
Yeah.
bit, and he can't do that one.
Can we talk about
Wahlberg
Wahlberg?
pretty bad. Yeah.
I think he's atrocious in this movie.
I wouldn't go so far as atrocious, but
I'll say it again.
I don't
He's
think he's
atrocious in
very
this
good.
movie. I think
I don't
he.
think that haircut's doing him any favors.
Nope. I
It
don't
was the
think
70s.
it's
Yeah.
it's not doing him favors from scene to scene. Unless, you know, like one scene it's on the other side, it's another scene on it's on the
Oh,
I
what
other.
don't
about that
think
terrible wig when Rachel Weisz comes back from California?
Yeah,
What? Yeah, like that's what happens when you come from California. You get whatever that's on top of your head.
yeah,
Oh,
Rachel, yeah.
She's not given any
Advice.
favors either in this movie. The
Well, it's
only
a thankless mom role.
it really
It's
is.
classic
I thought
Hollywood kind of stuff.
honestly, I thought
which also is the book
Sarandon's
is so much deeper.
Sarandon I thought was pretty good.
Sarandon is fun.
I think she's well. I'm not gonna say any performance in this movie is fun.
Oh no,
Um,
when she comes over and
Sarandon's definitely
rules the
fun.
roost,
That's her whole
she's
point of
fun.
being there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's fun.
um,
I mean, you could question whether or not a character should be that fun in this movie,
that's that. You know what?
but
That's better to say. You're right, Jay.
but I think she's
that's
fun, and I think honestly,
Mhm.
thank God there was something interesting happening.
like a little bit of fresh air.
It had a little bit of
in this movie.
personality for
Yeah,
her.
exactly. Um, it's almost like a little bit of the Speed Racer vibes from her in this of just a very solid, great performance.
She's great. I love Susan Sarandon.
I love Sarandon. But there is an infamous casting thing. I think we should talk about it, Jay.
Yeah,
I think we should really talk about everyone's favorite guy right now, Ryan Gosling.
it's so funny.
It's so bizarre.
It's
Is Ryan
hilarious.
Gosling everybody's favorite guy right now?
Well, I mean, like post Barbie and everything.
I'm
People
just
love.
furious that the
Oh, you want to talk about this?
Sean Levy Star Wars thing.
You're mad about it?
It's
Are you
Sean-
mad that Gosling's doing a Star Wars movie? Or are you mad that it's Sean Levy?
Oh, that yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, no, you didn't answer that. Oh, that's the Sean Levy
Sean
part.
Levy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Star Wars. I have not watched Andor. I really want to watch
I've heard
Andor.
well,
By all accounts, it's
Karen's
fantastic.
seen and reviewed Andor, and it's up on the website. Um, and I started watching it. It's good because it's Gilroy, and Gilroy is a very good writer.
But outside of that, Star Wars is just cooked,
Yeah,
like
well, I mean,
overcooked.
they're gonna have what are they? They're gonna have the Mandalorian movie come out with Grogu next year, and
Which
that's
didn't people turn on the Mandalorian towards the end of the second season?
true. But I think that movie will still make $1 billion because people love Mandalorian and they love Grogu.
Maybe.
Still a
And
stupid name, but anyway.
very what
What is the
Grogu?
movie called?
Grogu is the
Oh,
dumbest name.
Grogu. His name is Baby Yoda. It always will be.
Exactly.
But I mean, listen, I've continued this storyline. They should have let Ryan Johnson continue. They've made terrible mistakes. And this one, I mean, we'll even see if this gets made. The Patty Jenkins film sounded really good, and they had a promo for it, and it never
Yeah.
happened. So we'll
Oh
see.
no, I think Sean Levy's
He's
like
he's listen. The man made a
it
$1 billion
seems like he
movie,
is a nice guy who makes movies on schedule and on budget.
and doesn't push back.
Yeah.
And that's what the studios want right now. They want we'll take a Nolan over here that gets to do whatever he wants, and then we'll take a bunch of Sean Levy's that
He is not a difficult guy whatsoever, it doesn't seem.
sounds like the Russos are no different.
I'm sure Ryan Reynolds will have a cameo.
I'm sure he will. He'll be like a droid or something.
I actually think he might have I think they sent him like an email that said we're gonna cast Ryan, and then he just stopped reading there. And then
And then they were like Gosling, and he
came,
went,
and he was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah. But anyway, Jay, do you want to tell the listeners about Gosling?
Yeah, yeah, Gosling. So Gosling was cast in the Wahlberg role. He's supposed to be the father, and he took it upon himself to sort of, give his own take on the character. And he was like, of course, you cast Ryan Gosling, and you're like, I'm gonna get Ryan Gosling in the movie, but Gosling is like, no, I got to really inhabit this character. I want him to be sort of, not. I want to stretch myself as an actor. So he put on a lot of weight.
Yes, he did.
And I think he grew some facial hair or something.
Yep.
And he came to set first day of shooting. Peter Jackson sees him and is like, "Excuse me, what are we doing here?
He's like
Go home. This is not what we agreed on."
he looks a little bit like the papyrus sketch from SNL. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's absolutely hilarious that he tried to do that. At this point in his career, I guess he was sort of trying to overcome the notebook thing still.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
to a
say
certain
so.
extent.
Yeah.
And so he was probably trying to change it up for that reason, among maybe a few others. But yeah, Peter Jackson was just like, sorry, this is not what I envisioned for this movie. And then they bring on Mark Wahlberg, who looks like Mark Wahlberg, just plain as day, just looks like Mark Wahlberg, acts like Mark Wahlberg. Is is Mark Wahlberg a good actor?
Karen, do you think Mark Wahlberg's
No.
a good?
Is it just that cut and dry? He's done good stuff.
When we talked about him with Boogie
I-
Nights, when we did the
well,
PTA
I think-
series, and
Yeah, he's an extremely limited actor. There are a lot of them where they don't have a lot of range. And I think that
Yeah.
for Wahlberg, I think occasionally he lands a role that actually does work with what he's capable of doing, and then he's good. But
when's
those
the
are few and
last
far between.
when's the last great Wahlberg performance?
Oh my God.
When's the
The
last good
Funky
one?
Bunch video.
Funky Bunch. I mean, we talked about him on Boogie Nights. It can't be that far back. I mean, he is great.
I mean, he's amazing in The
in
Departed.
Departed.
I actually did like him in The Departed.
He shouldn't have been the one that got Oscar nominated, but he's
Well,
damn
there
good.
should have been like 12 Oscar nominations for that. That cast is stacked. So
Yeah, the fact that Nicholson was never
Um,
nominated for that is ridiculous.
Let's look it up here. All right. Not Flight Risk.
Yeah, you saw that actually, right?
I
Didn't you?
did, yeah. You know
Terrible?
me.
I did
You know me and
not.
Mel.
Well, you guys hang out. You're going to be on the commission.
Yeah, that was actually a disappointing movie because I actually think Mel Gibson in general
Not a
has
good
some
guy.
talent as a
Interesting
filmmaker.
director. Yeah.
And that movie is just an absolute hack job. Just
Director for hire
nothing
situation.
to say at all in it. Yeah, it's
Well, it sounded
crazy.
like an interesting sort of like red eye kind of premise. You know what I mean? Just kind of bottle
It could have
premise.
been
And
kind of interesting, but it really plays like direct to video.
damn, not
It's
surprising.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
All right. What else?
Oh man. I mean, it is tough. I mean, I think you have to go back at least
Date
a
night.
decade.
He is great in Date Night
Yes.
because he's in there for like a couple of
He's
scenes.
there to take his shirt off,
Yeah,
and
and
that's what he's good at.
that's fair.
I mean, he's good in The Fighter, I think. Good.
He is good in The Fighter.
He's
I
not.
remember him being shortchanged a lot in The Fighter. Like everybody else in that cast got nominated, and I was sitting there going,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
he's the guy
Adams and
keeping this
Bale
all.
are pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, well, Bale's incredible. I mean, Christian Bale would have killed this role. He would have killed everybody on set, but he also would have killed in this role for Lovely Bones too. I just Bill's a great actor. I know that's
Honestly, you know what? 2010, Date Night, the other guy's The Fighter.
the other guys is great.
That's a good year.
That's a good year for him.
That's a really good year.
You think I want to do this? Dancing around, shaking for nickels. It's a dance studio, Terry.
I mean, he
So-
tried some stuff. Obviously, he got in the Berg zone.
What is the one Lone Survivor, right? He did that
Lone
one?
Survivor. Was he in that one?
Is that the one he was in the Peter Berg film, right?
I don't think he's
Right
in that
about
one.
that?
I think
No?
that's the one he's not in.
No, I thought he was. I thought that's like his face on the poster, Lone Survivor.
Patriots Day. Oh, he is on Lone Survivor. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He is
that's
on, yeah, it's his
that's
big
the
face
good
on the
one.
poster.
Yeah, he's
Lone
good.
Survivor was
He did Deepwater Horizon.
him as well.
Yeah.
Patriots Day.
He was really in the Berg zone.
Yeah.
You know?
Then I guess
Peter
his big prestige play was All the Money in the World, which
She was
He's
not
terrible
good
in it.
in. Yeah, he's bad in that. Even do you think Ridley has the footage?
Oh yeah.
You think he's
old
got the
Space
spacey
Dog?
the spacey
the
footage?
spaceman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he watches it every day.
he's never going to release that footage. There's just no way. He's going to sit on that forever.
Well, reshooting it was entirely his idea. Nobody asked him to do it. He was just
Yeah.
like, "No, this is the right thing." So
I actually think I think he has like a dead man switch where when he finally dies, that movie or that footage gets released publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you being real or are you just fucking around right now?
Yes, Ryan, I'm being totally for real about Ridley Scott having a dead man switch.
Well, I know. Well, I mean,
just specifically for that movie.
I think. Well, I mean, Jay Spacey's your guy. You know what I mean? So
What did Spacey do recently? He was on a commercial for a Netflix stand-up special.
yeah, where he was also doing
He was doing
Frank Underwood, which is
Yeah.
so like, and how Netflix then
for Netflix. Netflix fired him, and now he's on a commercial as Frank Underwood for
That is-
somebody else's stand-up special.
he's doing that totally for money. He's totally because he needs the money
Well,
to pay
he
off
wants
his
to
lawyers.
get back in the game.
Yeah.
Who would get him back in the game? Like literally.
Oh, he has a movie.
He's in some French movie.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about like some small, like Jean de Barry sort of Johnny
I mean,
Depp thing. I'm
Mel
talking
You know
like
who,
Gibson's
you know
biding
who'd
his
get him back
time.
in?
who?
Bryan Singer.
Well, he'd have to
Whatever
get back
happened
in
to-
himself.
I mean, I hate to ask it out loud, but what happened to Bryan Singer?
You know what's funny?
He's not like Beetlejuice. We're not making him come back, right?
I mean, I'm not saying to be fair, because he's a horrible human being, but his last movie made like $1 billion. Like Bohemian
What's
Rhapsody.
his last movie?
is Bohemian Rhapsody.
I forgot he directed that movie. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Now he directed most of it. I think the Wembley Stadium scene was Dexter Fletcher, who went on to do Rocket Man and Eddie the Eagle. But he can say to his name that he
That
made
movie made $911
million. Yeah, it made as much as Oppenheimer. Think about that.
Well, it's honestly weird that Oppenheimer made that much.
You know, it's totally weird
It
because
made
it's an
more
hour
than-
longer. You know,
Captain America, Red Hulk, or whatever that's called.
what's gonna be crazy is there's a potential that Oppenheimer might make more than all the MCU movies if they keep tracking. Anyway, probably not, but it'll make more money.
That will
than
come
them.
out. You're saying all the ones that will come out this year?
Yeah, there's a chance.
I think Fantastic Four is going to crush.
Yeah, I'm with you, Karen. Karen, you agree, right?
Oh, I think it's going to make tons of money.
I think it's gonna make a shit ton of money. Like people aren't.
Whether it's good or not remains to be seen.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
quality's never mattered in the MCU.
Nope. Well,
I
it
mean,
used to matter.
quality doesn't matter in the Jurassic World franchise, and they're gonna just keep
Yeah.
making those fucking movies.
You know what?
Yeah.
Can I say
Oh no, don't do it.
little interested?
Oh, why? Because you're ScarJo?
The cast is good. Gareth Edwards, I still am
Interesting
just like,
director.
one day he's gonna make a movie I love.
What's
He
his?
hasn't done it yet. I don't even think he's come that close. But
He's Rogue One, right? And the Godzilla movie.
he did Godzilla. He did the robot movie, The Creator.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that was an interesting film. I didn't think
And
it was
then
great, but
what was
it
his
was
first movie? Was it called Monsters? Not
Monster.
Monsters. That's a different one.
Monsters.
Monsters.
Yeah. He did
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah.
Did
Which
he do?
is
Did he
With
do
Scoop
Rogue One? And
McNairy.
did he do Rogue One and then they kicked him off? Right?
was that the one that they say Gilroy did a lot of?
Yeah, like he
And that's
came
why
on.
he's sort of in their good graces.
That's why he's big on Andor.
Yeah.
Well, you know who's also like secretly one of the people that is responsible for why Andor's so good too is not just Gilroy but Bo Willimon, who did House of Cards. So he's done like
Did Fincher hand off House of Cards, or did he do the British House of Cards?
no he did the Fincher, like he wrote all the stuff and Fincher directed it. So like Willimon is like the creator of
Can I say
the
something?
American version. Yeah,
House of Cards stinks.
like the show.
Yeah.
I mean, are you watching it like on a regular now? Is that like your comfort film like show? Or
I just think it's bad. It was never good.
it was like West Wing light, you know. You know,
It was like super cynical West Wing. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a nasty show.
I mean, like I like the first season. I think everyone after
I remember
it first,
enjoying the first season.
I've kind of felt like after that point,
I fell off that show.
it started to just feel like lesser and lesser. But I mean, it is responsible for the streaming whole world that we live in.
Streaming
now.
everything. That's
Yeah.
why Netflix shows look like that.
Yeah, that's why they all look like a David Fincher pilot.
No, but David Fincher stuff looks good on
No,
digital.
but no, I'm not
Nobody else
knocking
can-
Fincher.
Yeah, it's
I'm just saying. But anyway, I think Gosling would have been good in this role. I think he would have probably. I mean, yeah, he would
he's
have
too
looked like
young at this point, right?
he would have looked like
Yeah,
Lars
he
in
was
the
only
Real Girl.
26.
Yeah.
He would have been like Lars in the Real Girl sort of look probably to him, right, Jay?
I guess something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, where's
Which, that's such a good movie.
where's Gosling at in his career at this moment? What's he doing?
Yeah. Has he done Half Nelson? Is this around Half Nelson?
This is after
time?
Half Nelson.
After
I think
Half
that
Nelson.
was 2007.
Yeah, that was 2006. His 2007 is Fracture and Lars and the Real Girl, and then he has some time in between, and this is when he was supposed to make this. His was his follow up to Lars and the Real Girl. Jackson says no. He then makes Blue Valentine, which is
The scariest movie of all time.
the scariest movie of all time. It also shows Peter Jackson, you could have fucking had that, because he looks in the flash forward sequences.
That might have been the look.
That might have been the look, honestly. And
But I
Holy
think Peter
fuck,
Jackson
that would have been
wanted a
good.
more Hollywood thing for this movie.
terrible idea.
Do you know what he used as inspiration for the heaven sequences? I thought this was just crazy.
God, I mean, what, something from Malik?
The Partridge Family.
Oh, fuck off. God. The heaven sequences, not the house
That
itself.
that is what I read, is that he looked to the Partridge Family, which would occasionally have these very stylized musical sequences, but generally tonally was just this super light, airy, which is not what this movie needs.
I wonder
It's
if, to go back around, Karen, to what we were talking about earlier, maybe not necessarily a female director, maybe a younger director would have been a better choice. I don't know. Because like that is, to say that, Jay, is your influence for how you want your afterlife to look is a weird.
well, this is the guy who loves the Beatles. You know?
That's true. You know, that is true. He's responsible for the AI song, right? Peter Jackson, that came out like when they won the Grammy for or whatever, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure that is
I'm
true.
sure he's totally a part of that. It was just a thought that kind of came into my head as we've been talking about him over the last couple of weeks. Was he responsible for that AI song? And still don't know I still don't know how to feel about that song either. Like, I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing that we have that.
Bad.
Is it bad? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love the Beatles, and I love the idea of like,
No, actually, I'm kidding. That I think that song is great.
no, but I try to like, I know that they used the AI to like because like the audio was really rough or something, and that's why they
Yeah.
did it. But
Yeah. No, I mean, my knee jerk is always to say AI is bad.
no, I
But
that's
no,
why
in
I'm conflicted.
reality, yeah, no, I hear you. And that's why I just said that, but I was actually just joking. No, I think because of the fact that this is a song that they actually wrote, this is tracks that they recorded, and it's using this. I think that that song is an example of what AI should be used for,
Mm,
as a tool, not to actually create the art, but
yeah,
as a tool to make the art work. You know,
yeah.
I think that song is great.
Jay, do you know that that was nominated for Song of the Year last year at the Grammys?
I did know that.
And did you know
Uh,
what it lost to?
um, Old Town Road, Lil Nas X.
No, it lost to Not Like Us from Kendrick.
I mean, good job.
Kendrick
Great
won
work.
that and Record of the
Great
Year,
work, folks.
and then Album of the Year went to Beyonce.
I tell you something that might implicate me in a bad way.
Oh
Well,
boy.
now you have to.
Oh God. Hang on. I apologize, listeners, for anything he's about to say. I don't know what's ever coming out of Jay Ledbetter's mouth when we do recordings. Anyway, continue.
Jet loves TV off. Like loves it.
Really?
He loves it.
Well, make sure he doesn't say
He
certain
is
words in that
he
song.
is
But
he is too.
Karen, where are you at with Kendrick Lamar? What's your favorite Kendrick Lamar? No?
Don't really listen to him, but I
Whenever
thought his
they
halftime show was
when he
great.
screams mustard, he
Mustard.
loves it.
Oh yeah?
He's all
God,
about
I
it.
love it. Ah, I love Kendrick. He's great. That might be that
Really, really strange to me that they're dumping his movie on streaming.
the Trey Parker one with him.
Yeah, it seems like you would really want to be in the Kendrick Lamar business, and
Comedies don't go to theaters
yeah,
anymore, man. It's like
it's weird.
really good comedies seem to just go straight to streaming. That
Well, there aren't that many good comedies.
that's why they're putting them all on streaming, or
Yeah.
they just don't want to trust it. I mean,
Good comedy
maybe
TV
those.
has good comedy.
I mean, maybe they might
Movies, not
switch it.
really.
I mean, isn't Paramount the same one that owned the Naked Gun movie? If like maybe that does well, then maybe they'll push it back into
Maybe
theaters.
they
I don't know.
didn't they push the Kendrick movie back a lot
Yeah, it's
too?
coming out next year. So
That's insane.
like around in March.
What are we doing?
I don't know. It's not ready. Or rather be ready than be pushed.
But also Paramount, don't you think they'd want to make Parker and Stone happy too?
Well, I
He's
mean, those guys
one of
are
their-
happy. They're on a lifetime contract.
Yeah, I
You know
guess.
what I mean? Those guys are fucking fine. They never have to worry about they're like Peter Jackson. They never have to worry about money for the rest of their lives. They can just do whatever the fuck they want with South Park and they'll be okay.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Gosling would have made this movie like 100 times better. I know he probably wouldn't have been age appropriate. I think Rachel Weisz is. I love Rachel Weisz.
Love Rachel Weisz.
She is got not given any favors. Karen, you said that she's better handled than her character is
Oh
is way
yeah.
better in the book.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because she's actually kind of a not involved mom, and you can see the signs of like, oh, this woman's going to have an affair like really early on. Um, and I think that the way that that is touched on actually really it's more of just giving her depth, you know. She's not
Mm.
just in the movie, she just feels like a grieving mom who just runs away from her pain,
A stuck
which is
housewife, you know, a little
yeah,
bit, you know.
which is a little part of her characterization in the novel, but there's just so much more
They don't
to
do
her.
her. They do her kind of dirty.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
I think
really
they
do.
Yeah.
I think there should have like and Karen, maybe I'm reading this, based off what you're saying, but like I don't know, there might have been like a little bit of like selfishness that needed to be involved there, more frustration between her and Jack because you know
Yeah.
I know that Jay, this is a movie that you when we gave it Best Picture on a retrospective episode. But like the relationship dynamic by the end of this, or for these characters, should have been like ordinary people. The idea of losing a child, the idea of blaming one another, that what this happens on the other
At
children
least, I
as
mean,
well.
something a little bit closer
Not
to
doesn't have
that.
to be a complete
Some
ripoff,
sort
but it's
of
like
domestic. There's almost no domestic drama in this,
no, it's
really,
just
which is
like
odd. They
her.
don't really interact that much.
The only time
Yeah.
they get mad is like about the film, like the film, like about getting the film developed.
But yeah.
We're gonna do this once a month, and like we made that
That's
deal.
that's kind of good.
Yeah, I
When
mean,
that he
no,
still
that's
will only do it once a week. I
yeah,
think that's pretty, because then that way she still remains part of their,
yeah.
week to
And she
week.
doesn't want it, and it's interesting. It's like do more of that, like tap into more of
Yeah,
like
that's an
you know,
interesting
Mhm.
human idea.
Yeah.
yeah, Saoirse.
Yeah. Well, one of the
Yeah.
things that Siebold writes in the novel that I think is really where you get that layered, family drama element is she talks about how what's her name? Abigail,
Mhm.
she and she was a young mom. Like, I mean, she was a mom in the 70s. It just kind of happened. This is what's expected of you in society, and as the kids were growing up and didn't really need her so much, she was growing away from them, and the kids were getting much more attached to dad.
I like
And
the shot of the books
mhm,
and her reading these parent books, and I
mhm.
just I just wish that there was just more of that. You know what I mean, Karen?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, because it really does just lack, the movie really just lacks like how, we don't really know much about how Abigail really feels about anything. And it's just, yeah, that's the thing. And like you were talking about, you think Gosling would have been so much better than Wahlberg in this. Maybe that's true, but I don't think any casting choice would have fixed this, because you've got Rachel Weisz is a great actress. Saoirse
Hmm.
Ronan is a great actress. And really what it comes down to is the problem with this movie is the script, and there's
yeah,
not a casting choice in the world that would have fixed that.
I just
It
think
is
a
a
lot of
weirdly uncomplicated movie. Like
it
Mhm.
there's
is.
just not a lot going on.
I just
Yeah.
think we've seen
Which is
Gosling
weird because
now.
it's such a complicated book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think
I believe you haven't read it, but I can see the potential there. It
that's
just
what
doesn't really reach for it.
that's what I'm saying is that we've seen Gosling since this movie's release and his sort of rise in the 2010s as a really great actor, and he can be this guy that walks through things without much on the page, and a guy that can be given. He's so versatile as a performer. He's one of our most versatile guys. I think like Gosling has at any time if he wants can take the keys of Hollywood and say I'm the guy and be the biggest movie star on the planet, and then he can be a very great comedic actor. He can then be a very dramatic and in a lot of ways too, like the Wahlberg stuff is a bit of Blue Valentine with the isolationism of being an investigator
Well, that and
like
sort
that.
of Zodiac is what I was thinking of.
Well, I was thinking of Blade Runner 2049, where he's having to be sort of on his own and quiet and investigate. And I feel like that he could have tapped into something that we see obviously later in his career. But
Yeah.
I do think that he's probably young for the to play the dad aspects of some of those.
I think he
But
would have been
the
11 when he would have had to.
Yeah.
but I mean they're always casting women young.
That's the
But
thing. They only do that type of casting with women.
women. You know what I mean? Like Jennifer Lawrence played like a 40-year-old in American Hustle, and then like Ryan Gosling,
Joy.
he can't be a dad of three. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know. I feel like so much of the film in that section relies upon an actor to make you also believe in a parent's grief, the loss of his wife, the world spiraling out of control, but then the obsession to try to find answers still in the face of everything. And Wahlberg gives you absolutely nothing. And I think Gosling is just a much better actor in screen presence than Wahlberg ever was in his career. And so I just think that potentially there could have been something there. Not saying, and I agree with you guys on the page though, there's not much there, but we've seen movies many times where actors can take stuff and make choices, and that also is a choice Peter Jackson made as a director to say, I'm not going to go with what this actor is bringing on this and replace with Wahlberg, and it's another mark on his ledger here in terms of I mean, that was the another person I was thinking of. If he hadn't passed, Heath Ledger would have been really good in this role. And there's
I think
Bale could have been.
I think you're overstating the potential of this role. I just don't
No,
think
I
there's much
don't.
there.
I think this role has. You're talking about meat on the bone. If you have a limited actor, the guy who was in The Fucking Happening, not that far off, who couldn't carry that tune of that movie, which I mean, that's a lot of M. Night's fault.
I mean,
but
that's a worse.
I still
screenplay
maintain
than
that
this movie.
everybody's misreading that movie.
no, for sure. But I think, Karen, like when you watch somebody like Josh Hartnett in Trap, which I think is playing in the same rhythms as The Happening.
I mean, that's it's Shyamalan thing.
Exactly.
Shyamalan's
You don't know.
fascinating. I still think The Happening is terrible, but
It is that movie.
I cannot reclaim The Happening. But
Movie is so stupid and silly. I
I'd
love
be
it.
interested in hearing a defense of it.
Well, you could read a defense of it on the website. I did a ranking piece last year for M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, you just said you hate it.
No, I didn't say that.
You literally just said it's stupid.
Yeah, it's silly, stupid, and I love it. Yeah, go read it.
All right.
It's great. I'll defend
Pass.
that movie. I
Pass.
love that movie.
If you ever do an M. Night series, I will appear on that episode.
Yeah, we should do that, Jay. You want to do M.
I
Night?
want to hear
one
what
day?
did Karen? What's your elevator pitch for The Happening?
I think that you don't cast Mark Wahlberg as a science teacher if you're being serious. I think that everybody tried to take that movie way more seriously than Shyamalan did.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. I don't cast Zoe Deschanel as his as his wife, and
I think Zoe Deschanel is just a bad casting.
it's all silly, purposeful. It's a silly ass movie.
I'm not sure about Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
Wahlberg, I can buy.
There's a John Leguizamo too is wild in that performance. There's a lot of silly shit in that movie. I love it. But
I like when the guy gets run over by a lawnmower.
There's some pretty grisly stuff.
there's some it's his first
like.
like R-rated movie too, and so he's like trying to push the form, but it's also I love them when the tiger I think rips off the guy's arms. It's what a wild movie. Saoirse. You guys want to talk about Saoirse real quick?
Baby Saoirse.
Baby Saoirse. Can I tell you? Just again, not much there.
Which is really
in my
sad.
opinion. Yeah.
Because it's like this is I'm not saying this is like a role for like an actress of this age to like really branch out,
But she was
like,
doing good stuff.
she was doing good stuff, and I mean she's proven to be an actress of
Hannah?
her generation, right? Oh, Hannah's
She
great.
already had an Oscar nomination.
She already
before
had
this,
for
right?
for Atonement, yeah. So she's already cooking. I love Saoirse, by the way. I just think that she's
Yeah. When we were watching this, I watched it with my wife, and she was like, "What has she been up to?"
well. She did the Outrun last year,
Didn't she?
That's why
she
my
had
wife
Blitz
asked what she's been doing.
She had two
and she
movies
had
last
and she
year.
had Blitz. And the year before
That's
that,
why
she
my
had
wife was asking what she's been up to.
and she did Foe the year before with Paul Mescal.
That's why my wife was asking what she's been up to.
Well, she's done stuff. It's called Wikipedia and IMDb.
She did that. What was the like comedy weird like Wes Anderson ripoff?
Oh,
she
it was like
in?
her and Sam Rockwell, and
Yeah.
it's like the mystery film. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
the one I saw on a plane and totally forgot about it after.
Yeah.
What is it?
See how they run.
See how they run. Yeah, that's right. Well, she was in the French Dispatch too. She has a cameo in one of the sequences in the, I think in the Jeffrey Wright sequence. So she's in that as well. I don't know what she's doing right now. I mean, I assume
So
she's
she has not had a successful film in a very long time.
probably 2019,
Yeah, Little Women.
where she got Oscar nominated for.
A great film.
A great film. I mean, she got married. The Outrun. She got a bunch of awards attention for. She did a Steve McQueen movie, for Christ's sakes. Her life's not in the shitter. You know what
No,
I
her
mean?
life's great.
You know, like she's doing okay. You know, I don't know what she's doing next. But I mean, Saoirse can
She's in
do
a
no
movie
wrong.
called Bad Apples.
Who's directing that?
Jonathan Etzler.
Don't know. Who's in it with her?
Boy. Uh, Eddie Waller, Jacob Anderson,
Don't.
he was in Game of Thrones. He was Grey Worm in Game of Thrones.
Okay,
Reiki Ayola,
man.
Robert Ems.
She's got that movie with Austin Butler coming up too.
Which one?
Um,
Not the Aronofsky one.
Sean
no.
Durkin, you mean?
Sean Durkin.
She's working with Durkin, buddy.
I mean, look, I love Durkin.
It's in pre-production. Two music-loving 20-somethings face love, ambition, growing up in the 2000s, a decade that changed everything. It's called Deep
All right,
Cuts.
I'm buying stock.
Yeah.
She's back.
Durkin wrote the script. He's directing it.
It's
It's Butler,
A24.
A24, Butler and Ronan.
There you go.
You know I'm Durkin pilled.
Dude, you know me. I love Durkin. I mean, I wasn't like over the moon about Iron Claw like everybody else, but you know, it's a
The
good
Nest
movie.
is great.
The Nest is
Nest
wonderful.
rules.
Martha Marcy May Marlene's fantastic.
Hmm.
Guy's got a style to him. I'll give
Cool
him
guy.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got an aesthetic.
He's making movies that nobody else is making. which is
Exactly. Well, like Iron Claw is weirdly a very popular film.
Yeah,
like it's
I was such an outlier not loving that
cool.
movie.
I think I wrote the review for
you
that.
did, buddy, because I was
I think I
like,
gave it an A.
yeah, you did. It was in your top 5 that year, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Karen, I liked most of it. I think the ending, I did not like the final scene of the film with the
I
whole,
didn't like how it treated some of the characters in general.
yeah. And also too, I've known this story for such a long time. Some of the details that then the changes.
You didn't like the last scene of the Iron Claw?
No,
You have no soul.
those children are terrible.
No, they're No, they.
They suck.
No. They feel
The
like
dialogue's
children.
terrible too.
No, they feel like children. Mm-mm.
It should have just ended with.
I used to be a brother. Come on.
It should have just ended with no dialogue and him crying and the music
No.
swelling up and the boys coming and hugging him. That should have just been the scene.
No, that last scene is unbelievable.
No,
You are a
that's
fool.
less is more. All right. And so less dialogue, the better. Though I loved Maura Tierney. I thought she was really great in that. But that's an evergreen statement. She's wonderful in everything.
We haven't talked about Tucci.
I was just gonna say we should probably talk about
Little
Tucci.
touch of the Tooch.
Yeah.
Why did Stanley Tucci in this role play it like a Dana Carvey character? Because I couldn't get Dana Carvey out of my head the entire time I was watching this.
I just think his performance is kind of boring.
Mhm.
I think it's really
I don't even
freaking-
think he's doing that much.
No, I think he's creepy as hell, but it's one note the whole
I
time.
think he's creepy because we're told he's creepy. I don't think he's particularly doing anything that really drives that home.
I think the scene in the cornfield is pretty creepy in the bunker with Saoirse. I think everything beyond that point is the same thing over and over. There's nothing really there.
It's also funny that we're supposed to think he's like super charming when he's talking to the detective, and all I can think about is, man, you're annoying.
My thing is just like, it's the most obvious looking murderer you've ever seen in your life. Like, there's like, why don't you just like put a sign on him that says, I killed her. The body's inside. Like, it's like,
Shouldn't have grown those roses.
shouldn't have grown the roses. Shouldn't have grown that hair. My God, is the hair bad. This is a role that Tucci really refuses to talk about. When I've
Even
seen,
though
even though it's his
even I
Oscar
know
nom.
he's Oscar nominated. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is, when you see retrospectives and people talk to him about, he's talked about this over and over again. It's just like, or refused to talk about it because like you saw
Talks
the clip.
about how he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's the scene, Karen, you know this because you're an awards enthusiast like the rest of us. When they do the clip for him at the Oscars that night, he is so disinterested by this point. I think he can't even believe that this is the work that he's getting nominated for. It feels like he's like, we're really nominating this, and the clip is so bad too. It's the scene with the dollhouse in the house and
Well,
everything.
there's nothing really to pull from for him in this.
No, there
No,
isn't.
it's
But
again. I think it's a very uninteresting performance.
Yeah,
it
because
it really is.
yeah. Well, and I mean, he's certainly not going to submit the clip from the bunker because, but
Yeah,
It's the wrong performance he got nominated for this year.
he was
I mean,
better in
what else did
Julie
he
and
do this
Julia
year?
that year.
He did Julie and Julia this year, Jay.
He's great in Julie and Julia.
He is phenomenal in that movie. That is one of his best performances.
I mean, I love Tucci.
Oh, you're talking about the number one Tucci guy over here. I love Tucci. He's like the best thing about
You
Conclave.
can be the number one Tucci guy. I'll be the number one Groden guy.
There you go. I'll take that. A virtual handshake to you, sir.
You know what was a pretty good movie?
What, buddy?
Devil
Worth.
Wears Prada.
Worth? Oh yeah, Worth. Well, Devil Wears Prada. That's
Devil
like
Wears
the number.
Prada. That's my wife's favorite movie.
I would say that's the number
I've
one
seen
movie.
that 15,000 times.
It's funny that you
So
will.
has John Krasinski.
Yeah. Who's his brother-in-law? Remember If?
I never saw it. I remember it existing.
I
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about.
It stands for imaginary friend.
Yes, it does, sir. Jay, it is funny that your wife's favorite movie of all time is The Devil Wears Prada, a movie that you will watch dozens and dozens of times with her. It never gets old.
That
But your
rules.
but your favorite movie of all time is The Tree of Life, and there's no way your wife is going to watch that even remotely a dozen times in her lifetime. You know,
Can I will say she is very generous when it comes to the Tree of Life, and every now and then she will just be like, "Okay, you can watch it again. I love how much you love this movie. I will let you watch it."
Okay.
And that's love.
let you watch your favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
Okay. Karen, what's your favorite movie of all time?
I don't like that question because
I know you don't like these questions. Karen's I'm always asking,
What's your favorite
but I guess
movie
Casablanca.
today? Okay.
Yeah.
Casablanca is her favorite movie today.
oh,
Might change tomorrow.
I've seen that one.
Good.
That's-
It's a
yeah.
great movie. It's the
It's the,
best.
it's the movie I watch every year before the Oscar telecast on the day of.
In a film
good.
class, I had to rescore Casablanca.
What?
So you did it with the music from Mad Max Fury Road.
No, I challenged myself to do like needle drops,
Oh, so you did like
contemporary needle drops.
so when they're walking off the, and saying, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Did you use the song that they use at the end of Transformers?
I actually wish so bad I had that still.
That would be so fucking good if you did. Like, imagine that, right? What I love, and just like Casablanca. That would be so good.
The only thing I remember two things. During the opening kind of chase sequence, I did Arctic Monkeys
Oh.
Brainstorm.
All right.
And then
Dating when you went to college.
in the flashback sequence, when he's drunk, I did Radiohead videotape for him.
You're not-
like remembering.
You know better than to use Radiohead now in anything whatsoever. Like no one
No,
is.
I hadn't seen the filmography of Denis Villeneuve or Westworld yet, so
Well, the Westworld like piano stuff's fine.
no, it sucks.
It's fine.
It sucks so bad.
I will take the piano stuff over the stuff
On Sundays,
on Sundays.
the On Sundays Radiohead is brutal.
One of Karen's favorite movies of all time on Sundays. She's a big Denis Villeneuve.
That is a mean film.
God. Yeah, that is a straight up mean movie. I hate it, and I kind of feel at times this movie's a little mean. But it doesn't stay the course of being that. I think it's just mean to the viewer. Honestly, I'm not giving us anything worth a damn to really discover or explore here. And Tucci, yeah, I mean, Tucci is such a mustache twirling villain. The way he dies at the end of this movie is the most laughable fucking death. I don't know. Have you guys seen
In the book, he gets killed by an icicle.
Well, and that's what the icicle,
Yeah.
the shot of the
Wait,
icicle
he gets
is, right?
actually like the icicle punctures him.
Impales him, yeah.
All right,
Like
that
in the
rules.
head, or like how's it go? Like
It's very hot fuzz.
yeah, it's
I'm not
very hot
actually-
fuzz. Yeah. that
Now I'm
that
trying to remember how that worked.
that death terrified the shit out of me when I was a kid.
When the stone falls off
When
the
the
church.
stone falls in there, and now I think it's one of the funniest images
so
that you'll
funny.
ever see. But when
How
I
he
first saw it, I
still
was
is
like,
walking with
yeah,
this, like,
it was the walking part.
400
It wasn't.
pound.
It wasn't the impact. It was the walking afterwards.
so
And now
funny.
it's so funny. That's
Then what else happens? Timothy Dalton gets the miniature church through his mouth.
yeah. That's a good movie. That's right.
It's my
favorite
right?
Edgar Wright. Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, is that your favorite
It's a
Edgar
funny
Wright?
film.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe
Scott-
Scott Pilgrim.
I was gonna say it's either that or probably well,
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Scott Pilgrim is kind of one of those where as you get older, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
is that
Is
movie
he
kind of gross?
Is he a director that you grow up out of, or like a grow away from?
He is sort of a auteur 101 kind of.
Yeah, and then you're like,
filmmaker.
oh, I found other directors. I don't, but I'm not like
A little bit.
I'm not jonesing to reevaluate. You know, I'm not like, oh, I gotta reevaluate him.
He's sort of what Tim Burton was to, late 80s, early 90s.
Well, that's a good comparison, Jay.
Thanks, man.
Ish.
Yeah. Like it's fun and nostalgic to revisit those early films without, like with what you're saying, without reevaluating them. But
Yeah.
what he's making now isn't necessarily.
I'm kind of excited for the Running Man.
Well, we've got Stock and Glenn.
I'll be seeing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Glenn.
We got Glenn all the way. I love Glenn. Glenn's my guy. It's my Texas boy through and through.
Yeah.
Some people don't want Glenn to be a movie star. Fuck him. I want him to go all the way.
People don't want Glenn to be a movie star.
Yeah, there's some people online that
I
don't.
think you need
that
to
think
stay
he's
off-
fake. Nope.
Stay off the internet.
There's some real people out there that think he's
people
fake.
like Glenn Powell.
One
No.
of the things that's so great about Glenn Powell is that he's not just a good actor, he's also a really talented writer too.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. A lot of that Hitman screenplay is him. Like Linklater just kind of put his name behind it to really get the thing going, but it was all really his idea.
Yeah.
And so he knows story.
Also, handsome.
Very.
I've met him, and yeah, he is beyond handsome, and is such a nice guy. We talked about the Longhorns for a little bit.
You ever met Tucci?
I almost met Tucci, or almost tried to meet Tucci, but I got a flight delayed. This was earlier in the year when the fires happened in LA, and when I was flying in early, because I was going to go to Critics' Choice at the time, but then it got delayed because of everything with the fires. But I had a 8-hour plane delay at the airport, and I missed a Conclave event that had Rossellini, Fiennes, and Tucci there. But my goal one day will to meet the Tooch. I love the guy. I think he's one of the genuinely great people that we have in this world still left.
Devil Wears Prada 2. We in?
No. I'm so nervous about that. It feels like Anchorman 2 for the rom-coms. It's gonna be more.
Anchorman 2 was only like a 6-year gap.
This is like
This is
20
20
years, and
Yeah.
I feel like, and I say this with all the love. I love her in the first film. I feel like
Meryl.
this is going to focus a lot more on Emily Blunt,
Oh, Emily Blunt.
and I think that could be a giant mistake
Emily Blunt incredible in that.
because she really became, no offense to Anne Hathaway and to everybody else in the film, but like Emily Blunt was the discovery of that film. She's the one that's had the probably the biggest career out of everybody in that cast since.
Meryl Streep.
Well, since then, I'm not talking about overall. I'm talking about like since that point. You know
Meryl
what I mean?
Streep is still Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I know. Well, Meryl hasn't made a movie in like 9 years, or I guess it's 3 or 4 years or whatever. When does Don't Look Up, which is not really a movie. It's more
Hell
of a
yeah.
piece of shit. But I mean, I just say that as Emily Blunt feels like a movie star. And Hathaway's a movie star. She's an
Married to
Oscar
the
winner.
director of If.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it back to If. Well, because Tucci's married to her
It
sister.
all comes back to if.
Well, Tucci's part of the family.
At the
Because
end of the day, 7 degrees of if.
you know what's funny is that really in a lot of ways we have. I know Karen's not going to care about this, but we have John Krasinski to thank for Oppenheimer in a lot of ways, because without A Quiet Place Part Two, that's the movie that Nolan saw both Blunt and Murphy together on screen, and really thought that they had great chemistry and cast them both in Oppenheimer, and that's then the story was all written. So in a lot of ways, thank you,
It's also
John
the film where I
Krasinski.
yelled at a child.
Oh, A Quiet Place 2?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was A Quiet Place 1.
No, 2.
No, was it 2?
That was the first movie I saw post-pandemic.
Oh, did you go with the wife?
Yeah.
And there were like it was like there's these kids behind you and they were talking.
We were in the recliners. They were talking. They were doing the recliner like, and I turned around and I said, "Are you guys trying to be as annoying as humanly possible?" And they went ghost white and acted like I had just put a gun to their head. And they were quiet for the rest of the film.
He does live in Georgia, so that is probably possible.
Yeah.
Karen, have you ever yelled at people in a movie theater to shut up?
Yes, actually. It was one of the one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And
The good ones or the bad ones?
One of the good ones.
Okay. The good ones are the first three, by the way.
Yeah. I don't remember which one, but it was definitely one of those three.
Okay.
And there were these teenagers, a boy and a girl sitting next to me. The boy was sitting directly next to me, and then the girl on the other side of him. And he just kept they kept talking and laughing. And they were doing that all through the trailers. And I thought, okay, well, when the movie starts, they're going to shush, right? No, the movie starts and they don't. And finally, after just like a minute or two into the movie, when they're just laughing and just, whatever, I said to the kid, I'm like, are you guys going to talk through the whole movie? I'm just asking now because I can move my seat if this is going to be a problem. And he just was like, same thing, ghost white. And she starts to say something to him and he's just like, nope. And then they were silent through the whole movie. So.
Hell yeah.
Yep. The only time I've done that. I'm not someone I don't do that.
I think that's the only time I've done that as well.
Not the only time I've wanted to, but the only time I've actually done it.
It is actually unbelievable in a crowded movie theater. Everybody's just on their phone.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I don't like going to crowded screenings at all anymore.
I went to a press screening this year for Black Bag. And Black Bag, you both seen Black Bag.
That one's 90 minutes. You can stay off your phone.
It wasn't the phone that was the issue. So these people in front of us, as the first opening scenes were starting, there was these two ladies, and they were talking, and they continued their conversation from when the lights were up to when the lights were down, and they were in front of the critic section because they let a bunch of normies in. They were normies. They were not critics.
Oh, okay.
And this critic that was like 2 seats over from myself and Tyler Doster, our TV editor, as the movie was starting and everything, he shushed them, which is fair because they were talking. They kept doing it. And they kept talking. And he said, and he whispered, "Shh, shut up." And the 2 women looked behind him and gave him the finger.
Reminds me of the episode of Always Sunny with the shusher.
So but there's, as you guys know, there's security in the screening. They didn't do anything. So the movie ends, and one of the women, credits roll. They shut up for the second half of the film. Credits roll, and Tyler and I are waiting for everybody to get up because it was a packed theater. The woman turns around and gets in this guy's face and tells him, "You didn't have to, yell, shush us and whatnot." And goes, "You were talking during the effing movie. You know what I mean? This is a privilege for you. Shut the fuck up." And the security guard, who's seen this whole thing happen, gets on the critic for using the F word. And it's like, why don't you? And I looked at him and I was just sitting there and I looked at Tyler. I was like, why didn't that person do her job and kick him out? So talking during a movie, texting during a movie, it's 90 minutes, folks. Like
It's a shorty.
it's a real short. It's a goodie, but it was a shorty. And so, yeah, that's why if I go to normie screenings, I go to the draft house because they'll kick people out of there.
Yeah, because what's great about the draft house is you have people taking orders in the middle of the movie, and it's very chill and mellow
Well, they write
and
it all
calm.
down and then they put it out there. I much prefer that. That doesn't bother me because I don't order anything, so nobody walks in front of me. You know what I mean, for the most part, and they try to get low to the floor and everything. It's much more, at least in my experience with the draft house.
I just try to
Everything's
go to screenings that aren't full. That's what I do.
that's yeah, but that could also
Matinees, man.
matinees or late night screenings.
Hmm.
And if a movie is big and it comes out that first weekend, I'm not going. Like Megan really wants to see Sinners, and we haven't been able to see it because the screenings have been packed. And she's like, I just don't want to be around a lot of people because people are the fucking worst when it comes to theaters. And we didn't have a press screening for Sinners. Thanks a lot, Warner Brothers. And yeah, so we're probably going to end up. She's going to end up probably watching it at home, which sucks. Or, I mean, it'll re-release in theaters
That
later by the
movie,
end.
that's going to be in theaters for a while too.
Yeah, that movie's making money. You seen it, right, Jay?
It's doing
You
well.
liked
I
it
have. I liked it quite a bit.
quite a bit. Still not a black
Yep.
bag though. Black bag. That's the best
Black
one.
Bag's still my favorite of the year.
That's the
Um,
one.
it
Lo-
is Sinners is a more ambitious movie, but I think
Love that
Black
soda
Bag
pop.
is just tight as a freaking drum. And
God, just makes you thirsty. Just think
good
about it.
stuff. That reminds me of when I went to Ghost. No, was it Ghostbusters? I don't think it
Which
was
one?
Ghostbusters. It was something else. And it was an influence. They invited influencers,
Oh
Oh
fuck.
gosh.
and it was some Marvel movie. Uh,
The
some
marbles.
some Marvel movie. I can't remember.
Is
And
it
he was
Guardians 3?
dressed up in a Spider-Man costume. So it was some sort of Spider-Man adjacent film.
So maybe No Way Home?
No, it was after that. I can't remember.
Hmm.
Um, but
I like how we're
after
just gonna guess all the fucking MCU
after the
movies.
film
Apparently you are.
after the film ended,
Yeah.
uh, he was with a friend
Uh-huh.
and he was, an influencer. So he did a TikTok. He was with a lady companion, and he said, "All right, here we go. We're gonna do a reaction to the movie." And he held up his phone and he was like, "Hey, everybody, we just saw whatever Spider-Man adjacent movie I just saw, and man, I loved it. What did you think?" And he points his the camera at the woman, and she says, "Yeah, it was okay, probably like a 5 out of 10 or so." And then he put the phone down and he was like, "You can't say that. I won't get invited to these things anymore. Let's do it one more time." And that was when I lost all faith in movie criticism in the year 2020. I believe it was 2024.
Those aren't critics, those are influencers. Totally different.
Totally different thing, Jay.
But
Um,
people take it seriously. That's the
Hmm.
problem.
Yes.
I
Well,
don't
and
know.
that's why studios are prioritizing influencers now instead of actual critics.
Some of my screenings down here, though, the influencers are getting less and less because people are just seeing films and they're not. And so if they're not posting anything on those social media pages, guess what? Those influencers are kind of worthless then at that point. So, anywho, any other thoughts on The Lovely Bones? A movie we've definitely talked about the last 20 minutes on this episode. Karen, anything else you want to add about this lovely film?
No.
Jay, anything else?
Um,
Who were some of the other
no.
directors that were supposed to attach to this, buddy?
Oh yeah.
Well, uh, the first one that was originally attached, and you want to talk about, maybe Peter Jackson not having the best point of view for this film. How about Luc Besson?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Uh,
That would have been fucking awful. Of course, we would have never been able to talk about it on this podcast because there's no way we would have ever.
I think he is banned.
Yeah, that's a
Should be.
number one on the.
And then,
on the
this
ban
was a
list.
DreamWorks production. I don't know if Spielberg ever intended on directing this at all, but he was very eager to scoop the
Ooh.
rights up for it.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
This was
I love
this was
Steve.
sort of in his was this in his weird era? I guess he was getting out of his dark era at this point.
He just done Munich, right? And what was after
I
Munich?
think that was
Munich
earlier.
was 05.
So it was after Munich.
Crystal Skull.
Crystal, ooh, talk about CGI.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then after that is what, then the double of Tintin and Warhorse after that?
something like that. Two
Wh-
good movies.
When was The Terminal? Oh,
2004.
four? Okay.
I will say I had forgotten that Spielberg was in any way attached to this movie. And so when I was watching it and saw his name in the credits, I was like, wait, what?
Is it like Amblin produced? Is that why?
That's DreamWorks.
Or DreamWorks? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So I mean, yeah, he's an executive producer. He
oh,
wasn't
it's
really
that
involved
era
with
when
it.
Steven Spielberg was putting had his name on
He
Mhm.
sure
everything.
did.
Yeah, I just
Um,
had forgotten that he was involved in it at all. So that was a little bit of a, just like, oh,
I don't know if it would have been the right move, but I mean, he has in the past been able to handle childhood stories before many times. I don't know if that's a good fit for him, but I
Brian
mean,
Eno did the music, which is interesting. I remember nothing about the score, but it's interesting that he did the music.
in this movie, yeah, I don't remember
it
anything.
goes into a really weird, like this dramatic ending, and then it goes into this weird, jaunty, like jazz score in the credits. And I was like, what just happened?
The
It's
ending of
sort of
this
indicative of the movie a little
the
bit.
ending
Hmm.
of this movie is like I don't even know how to describe the ending of this thing. Like, obviously, the sinkhole thing, which is such a MacGuffin, and then the way Tucci's character dies. And then when you go back to the family, it's like, well, we all learned a great lesson from the afterlife here. And then like the credits roll, and you're like, what the fuck? This is what this movie has been building up towards, just a pile of nothing in this ending. Yeah. Shout out to Jackson putting not only himself in the Kodak
Oh
store,
yeah, I meant to bring up the Hitchcockian cameo.
but then also injecting at the bookstore where she sees her crush,
Oh, Tolkien.
injecting the Tolkien Lord of the Rings books there as
Hmm.
well.
Yep.
So Guy was flexing with
Oh, and that Lord of the Rings thing is not subtle.
no, it's not. I
No.
Giant
thought
poster in the window.
the lighthouse was like giving that I have here was giving Sauron vibes the entire time I was watching. I was like,
What was it in was it Ambulance where the characters talk about how awesome The Rock is or something? Is that a thing that happens in the Michael Bay movie? They're like,
I haven't seen Ambulance
"Lord
since I
rules
saw
The
it
Rock."
in oh, like The Rock, the movie The Rock.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes
Like the Michael
sense.
Bay movie.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Hmm.
where he's patting himself on
I
the back.
thought that was pretty
Yeah.
sick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you think that that's okay, but not
I
what
actually
Peter
think
Jackson was.
Ambulance is good.
That movie gave me a headache.
It makes my head hurt, but it's
Yeah.
good.
I watched that movie on a plane. That was not a
You
good
watched
choice.
Ambulance on a plane
I did.
and
Mhm.
then got on a boat, and I don't know. I think this movie sucks. This might be one of the worst movies we've ever covered. A point,
You know what? Honestly, we don't cover that many bad movies.
so it's definitely up there. We've done
Yeah.
over 100 episodes. This is definitely one of not the worst episodes, one of the worst movies
It's one of
we've
the
ever covered.
15 worst movies we've
I'll
covered.
say this: I would 1,000% watch Ishtar again before I ever watch it.
I don't think well, Ishtar's good.
Yeah,
I
Ishtar's
don't, I don't
good.
think I've said like a good word about this movie hardly.
Yeah,
But I'm
you
still like,
you're
it's
trying not to be mean.
terrible.
Oh, it's
It
no, it
ends.
is. It ends.
It did end, and that was awesome.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, then it goes to the jazzy, weird, tonally.
Well, you like the first 45 minutes of this movie.
I think the first
setup.
45 minutes are effective, and I think there are some parts that
When does it
are
stop being
interesting.
effective? When she dies?
I think essentially, yeah, the first time we go to her heaven.
Does this not like? I mean, this movie feels like a short. Like it should just be a short, more than, or like at least an hour and a half.
Well, again, it's a tech exercise. It's
Yeah.
like they have this thing on Disney Plus called Zenimation,
What?
which is essentially this. It's almost like a sleep aid. It's just they play sort of the ambient noises of these animated films,
Okay.
and you're just sort of like, wow, what beautiful animation and wonderful sound. And that to me is, I bet Peter Jackson loves animation, but he loves it.
The boyfriend stuff I always found weird in this movie,
Yeah, it's weird.
where like with the other girl too, and
It again is just another thing. I feel like everything we've mentioned is just like it's not that interesting.
No,
Yeah.
no,
It's not that
it's
interesting.
weird, right? Like Karen, how's that played out in the book? Is that as weird as it's presented in the film of like this girl is like a vessel to her on the other side? Like that's what it
It's
plays out like.
Oh, the goth girl thing is weird.
Yeah.
That's another that's a
that
Deus Ex goth girl.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vessel to which you are referring, that does happen in the book, and it's actually taken much further.
Oh,
Oh,
like
Yeah.
how far?
Like all the way far.
Oh,
wow.
Oh yeah. And that's the
so
one
Pete
thing in the
showed
book where I'm
restraint.
like, what is happening?
So
Yeah.
Pete showed restraint.
Yeah.
But she like kills she's like a goth black cat, and that's how she kills. Is she part of the ending to Tucci's character in the book as well?
No,
No, because right,
no.
she's
Wait,
by
that's
the.
not her by the car.
Is it?
I
Wasn't
don't
it her
think
by the
so.
car?
No, he's off
Is it a
somewhere
different girl? Okay,
else.
I got it
Yeah.
confused.
And
I'm sorry,
he's trying to
because I
get
was
this
like,
girl
wait
to
a
go
minute, this was almost like Collateral Beauty esque weird shit with
By
that
that
Yeah,
girl in
no,
point,
no,
this
no.
by
movie.
that point, Ryan was like 6 Advil deep. Just
I was, yeah, I was just like, please, no, I needed like 9 cups of coffee to stay awake and
an
interested in this
Adderall.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I need a shot of adrenaline. Yeah, this movie's terrible. I hated it. But I love this conversation. Thank you guys. Jay,
Yeah.
before we get out of here, we're going to test your awards using knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, The Lovely Bones. In a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Now, we have talked about a little bit of the Oscar stuff already, but you already know The Lovely Bones was nominated for Academy Award. Was it nominated for anything else? And
The
what was it
Tooch.
nominated for? The Tooch was the nomination. Yes.
Supporting actor Tucci. I think that was its only nomination.
That is correct. That is correct.
Good call by the Academy,
The
except for
Academy,
the Tucci part.
he was nominated at the BAFTA, the Oscars, the Globes, and Screen Actors Guild. Saoirse was nominated for Best Actress at the BAFTA that year.
This just kind of feels like, you know who we love? Stanley Tucci.
It does feel like that. It also feels like a nomination before the movie even comes out, sort of thing. Like I remember Entertainment Weekly had this as their in their top five. This got to get not. This will be the Oscar movie of the season in the magazine. Karen, you remember the magazines? Those used
Oh,
to be
yeah.
like the Bible, the fall previews. And when they
Yeah.
had, and I remember him like, I remember Jackson like sort of posed with his arms out, directing in one of the dream sequences, looking like fucking Willy Wonka, and I just remember being like, oh, okay, so like he's making a drama from this popular novel. He'll get nominated, and then this movie came out and fell on deaf ears. So, but Tucci was the universal thing that everybody loved, and I do think a lot of the Devil Wears Prada, his working, him being a working actor, and the fact that he was playing a monster, which is different than obviously Stanley Tucci because he's a guy that will make you a lovely cocktail. I think that that's what carried him all the way through to get the nomination. Karen, I don't remember if you remember the year that Oscar season or not, but that's how it felt as a young man for myself. That's how it kind of felt like it played out for him.
Yeah.
What's the movie I
Yeah.
watched recently that he was in where I was like, whoa, I cannot believe he is in this? Oh, it was Beethoven.
Yeah, he is.
Grodin.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. But it feel it the Tucci nomination kind of felt like, well, we had such expectations that this movie was going to be like the movie, and we want to we don't want to completely walk away from it, and we love Stanley, so let's just do this.
you know who did not like this movie?
Stanley Tucci.
Roger Ebert.
Raj?
1.5 stars.
Mm.
The title: After the rape and murder, the really cool part starts. The Lovely Bones is a deplorable film with this message. If you're a 14-year-old girl who has been brutally raped and murdered by a serial killer, you have a lot to look forward to. That's the opening line of Raj's review. Pretty cynical stuff from Raj. And it is not kind from there. Jesus, it is not kind from there. No.
That doesn't sound like a star and a half. That
That
sounds
sounds
like
like a 1 star like me.
yeah.
Raj was not a fan, but it was Tucci was nominated for supporting actor. Jay, this is the year, and Karen, this is the year that Christoph Waltz won for Inglorious Bastards,
No,
an
heavy
all-time
hitter.
performance. Matt Damon, Invictus, Woody Harrelson, The Messenger, Christopher Plummer, The Last Station, and Stanley Tucci, The Lovely Bones. A really just terrible lineup
Yeah,
with
I was
a
about to say,
obvious winner
man.
inside of it.
Mhm.
Waltz is great in that movie. I know this is a very dumb question to ask you guys, but would you consider The Lovely Bones in any other category? Or would you even keep Tucci in this category? I mean, obviously, no. I think we would replace
No,
Tucci with.
no.
I would replace Tucci for just Julie and Julia. I think he's wonderful in that
Yeah.
movie. And that moment when Julia Child finds out that her sister is pregnant, and her and her husband have been struggling to have kids, and that moment where he just walks over across the table and just consoles her, the toast scene that he has with her at the dinner. Oh my God, just an incredible. And that built-in chemistry between him and Meryl from Devil Wears Prada carrying over. It's just and that's a movie that's only half good because the Julia Child stuff's great, and then the Amy Adams stuff I find to just be nails on a chalkboard stuff. But I miss Nora Ephron terribly. That's like we talked about that, Jay, with Tony Scott, where a certain movie died when Tony Scott died. I feel like Nora Ephron is the same. Obviously, with Nancy not making any movies either, it feels like just they cornered the market on these really great romantic comedies, dramas.
Yeah, I mean
And we
Nora Ephron is so interesting compared to Nancy Myers because I do think they get lumped in together.
they do,
But man, Nora Ephron movies can be so acidic,
yeah.
which is cool. I mean, but I mean, even when Harry Met Sally is, that's got a lot more bite to it than pick your favorite Nancy Myers movie. And I
I
love
would,
Nancy Myers,
I
but
would love to do Nora. She would be
that'd
great.
be fun.
That would be fun. Karen, nothing for
Mhm.
Lovely Bones. You don't want to give it anything.
You know where I'm surprised it was not nominated, and I would definitely nominate it?
Hmm.
The Razzies.
Oh,
Oh, that's fair. What were the Razzie nominations this year? This is a good one. We do always love to just check in on the raspberries, right?
trying to look
So,
what were my favorite movies of the year.
so the worst picture at the Razzies this year was Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. The worst actor went to the Jonas Brothers as a collective for Jonas Brothers the 3-day concert. That's just mean. Worst
I
act.
hate the Razzies, by the way. I just want to say that,
Yeah, Razzies stink.
but I feel like this movie is an example of why they were created in the first place.
This I do remember this year specifically because this was the year that Sandra Bullock won for All About Steve. She showed up
Mhm.
and accepted her award, and then like a couple of days later won the Oscar for The Blind Side.
Yep.
A movie that has aged like fine wine, and no one has a
Perfectly.
problem with The Blind Side.
I have a couple
Uh,
friends who are in The Blind
Halle
Side.
Berry did the same thing, I think.
oh yeah, she did. Was it the same year? Or no, she came
No,
to
no,
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 no, no.
not
She
this
did
movie.
it
she showed up
She also showed up to accept her award
for
in the.
Catwoman,
Catwoman.
or was it Gothica?
No, I can't remember.
It's one of those two. Halle Berry going to be in the new Avengers movie.
I believe Verhoeven did it as well for
Yeah,
Showgirls.
it's honestly kind of funny when people used to do it. They don't do it
Yeah, and
nowadays
now, yeah,
because the Razzies are.
they're
If you
trying to
thought the
just
Razzies,
completely reject the
yeah,
Razzies.
if the Razzies back then you thought were bad, now they're just over the fucking hill in terms of just being a terrible thing. Like they are literally a press release now. That's all they
Oh yeah.
are. And it's like what's the worst movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and let's just give it that. It's not. There's no real thought or effort into it. And some of them feel like certain nominations, they do feel mean spirited every single year.
Hmm.
Couple months out, we feeling good about a Nora best pick?
I
What are you
wasn't feeling good about it that night.
what are you talking about,
Hmm.
buddy?
I don't know. Are we feeling we like happy with it? We
Well, I
good
know
with
Karen's
Nora?
not.
Mm.
But
Does
yeah,
the does the does the I feel like nobody has gotten up in arms about it. I feel
I
like,
don't think anybody should get up in
I don't
arms.
think there's been much backlash to it.
It's not a movie that you should be upset about that it wins. Like this isn't one of the most egregious wins or
I feel like everybody was just like, yeah, good
yeah.
job.
Like Hollywood from the moment it won a can all the way to the end of the year.
Or at least
Everyone
that was
was
the
like,
consensus.
it was a consensus one. It wasn't one of these where it was like if it was Amelia Perez, I think we'd all be a little pissed off. Like, thank God for Brazilians for finding those tweets. Um, but I think
Is
that
that how it happened?
I mean that's pretty much what happened.
That's awesome.
The Brazilians did this. Like we don't credit them enough. Like because I think it was about like Carla said something about Fernando Torres or like there was like a little bit of beef, and then the Brazilians online, shout out to them, gotta love them, want to stay on their good side forever. They went and found all the Carla tweets and started tweeting him left and right, and then really it wasn't even the tweets honestly that took Carla in. It was the 9,000 apologies or
It
unapologies
was
that
when
she
she
did.
kept trying to defend
Yeah,
herself,
Yeah.
and yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. So, but
Anyway, didn't mean to sidetrack.
no, I mean
I
it's a
would
perfectly
never,
good I mean, how
normally
are you
wouldn't do
feeling
it.
about it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, you got to answer your own question a little bit there, buddy.
yeah. I mean, I'm pleased with it.
I mean,
I
it's
think
not
it's
my
a
favorite. It's not my favorite in the lineup, but
no, me neither.
I I
I think it's a
I've
rock solid winner that's going to age
I
well.
have Karen and I and you have lived through worlds where there have been worse Best Picture winners in our lifetime, and I am okay sometimes with my favorite thing not
It
winning.
has not had the backlash. Like everything, everywhere, all at once. People just rioted after it won,
I think there,
or at
and
least
I.
a certain type of person.
Were you looking at me?
Uh, if the boot fits, as Woody says in Toy
If the
Story
boot
2,
fits,
if the boot
fits.
fits.
Well, I mean, I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once isn't a like great film upon the rewatches and stuff, but I understand
But
the
that's what
import.
happened to it is people started reevaluating it on a rewatch because it won Best Picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Parasite or um, or
Green Book.
Op. Well, I mean, Green Book never aged well from the moment it happened. I think Oppenheimer's going to age well. I think people love that movie is very popular, and people love Nolan, and
People love Nolan.
they loved going to the movies and seeing it, and it was part of an event.
It was a big cultural moment.
And even attached with I would even say this, even attached with Oppenheimer's win is Barbie, and they will be lumped together. They will be
I
together
don't
for
know
the
about
rest of their
that.
life. Barbenheimer will be a thing that we will remember for a long, long time. So,
All right. Anyway, cool.
so Honora,
Lovely
congratulations again.
bones.
And
Lovely bones.
Jay's only bringing that up because he called it,
I did call it.
and he kept with the pick all season long. But Lovely Bones.
Good for me.
Um, just a, I can't believe I actually had to sit down and watch this movie again. Karen, is there a movie that you watched one time and you know for a fact you will never watch it again,
Probably a million of those.
and you've avoided it? I mean, there's a million of them,
Uh,
but like this was one of like I'm never going to watch this again. And then I brought this up on a podcast. And
But I would say
with a series.
this one is interesting because it was so hyped and
It shows the
it was a big deal.
downfall.
It's not like, you know what movie I'll never watch again? Cocaine Bear. But Cocaine Bear didn't have the same sort of hype around
I
it
love
that
I guess-
Cocaine Bear.
I guess that's a better way of phrasing it. From like an auteur director that you have an affinity for, is there a film that you're like, well, I don't care how much I love, like I don't care how much I love Lord of the Rings, Karen. I'm never watching Lovely Bones again. Do you have like sort of a maybe something like that for yourself?
I'm sure I do.
Jay, do you have that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Is that
there
like what?
are there are some absolutely god awful movies from some of my favorite directors that
But like never watch it again. Like I'm talking about like you will.
I should never watch Quintet again, but I probably will. Uh
Is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on there for you?
no, I can't. I'm gonna keep trying with Crystal Skull.
Okay.
I
You'll
will.
get around. It's not bad.
It's got really good stuff in it. It's
It
got really
does.
bad stuff in
It's
it.
got some bad stuff, but like
Yeah.
it's, you know, Karen's
Steven
no.
Spielberg knows how to block a set piece, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Karen,
don't
who are
know.
some of your
Vox
favorite?
Lux is like one of the worst movies.
Okay.
I hated that
But you're
one.
not a Brady Corbet person,
I am
Karen.
not, and that movie
So
was where I knew I was not.
is there like a who are some of your favorite directors, Karen?
I mean, I love Spielberg. I love Alfred Hitchcock. Like, are you talking current working or just all time?
All time.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can do current working too. I mean, Jackson's still alive and working.
Oh, I got one.
Oh,
Who?
All right, hold on. Billy Wilder.
oh boy. Which one from Billy?
A Billy Wilder movie?
Love in the Afternoon. Terrible.
I've
Oh,
actually not seen that one.
Horrible. Gary
I'll,
Cooper is a walking corpse.
I'll tell you one that I'll.
And we are supposed to
Oh, I
believe
have one.
that
Oh,
Audrey Hepburn falls in love with him.
what Karen?
I really like Alex Garland. I really, really hated Men.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Listen, I love Spike. She Hate Me. I'll
Mm-hmm.
never watch that again.
I don't know. It's worth
Yeah.
it for that. The little Anthony Mackie,
What?
the Anthony Mackie sperm.
The CGI?
Yeah. It's
What
worth
if
it.
Peter Jackson did that sequence, huh?
It would have been so much more lifelike.
that would have been terrifying. They would have never had that on screen. Um, I'll tell you
She
one.
Hate Me is quite bad.
That's a quite bad movie. There's another one that he has too. There's like the Old Boy remake too.
Spike has made some bad movies.
Yeah, he's made some stinkers. I make no question. Listen, he's got like 3 films in his filmography that I'll never watch. Miracle at St. Anna that he made, that movie, one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. I love you, Spike. I will never watch that movie again.
Oh, that
There's like-
movie is really bad.
That's
How
a
about one?
rough movie.
I think Judd Apatow has made some good movies. The
Ooh,
Bubble.
The Bubble. The Bubble. Oh my God, not The Bubble.
Anyway,
Anyway.
we could talk. There's
We could talk about it all night.
4
Anyway,
dozen of these. But
Karen, thank you so much for coming on and doing this silly show,
Thanks for
like
having me.
always. Oh, Karen,
Yeah.
can you? I was going to ask you a question on this show. We asked Griffin Schiller this. We all know Sophia's answers to this. I was going to ask you a question on this show. So before we get out of here, Karen, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet? Give us a recommendation of the week. You know the drill on that. And Karen, do you have an important person in your life per the show? And what everybody knows on this show what an important person means?
Yeah. So you can find my written work at awardswatch.com. You can find me on other podcasts, Citizen Dame and The Watch and Talk. You can find me on social media, mostly Letterboxd, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Karen M. Peterson. My movie recommendation for this week is Friendship, the new film from A24.
Ooh.
It's really funny and so weird and uncomfortable, and it's like cringe comedy done really, really well. Yeah. And you know who's really important to me after this conversation? It's really weird, but Stanley Tucci.
Stanley
Hell yeah.
Tucci.
make you a mean cocktail.
I mean,
Mhm.
oh,
Nice
man.
Negroni.
You're gonna get a nice meal. I
Exactly.
saw him make like pasta with clams one time, and I was like, "Oh, that looks so good." Yeah, his cookbook's great. Do you have it, Karen?
I actually do not. There was a period of time where I was falling asleep nightly to his CNN show.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, he's now kind of like doing like a Bourdain,
He has a Nat Geo show
like,
now.
but less cynical, like Bourdain.
And he's going to be the next pope.
I would definitely vote for him.
I totally would vote for him. I think the world would be a better place, honestly. Jay, Same drill,
Yeah,
buddy.
man. Yeah. Find me on this podcast next week. Letterbox J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Any writing I'm doing, Awards Watch. My recommendation for the week is I continue to catch up on 2025 movies for some reason, even though not much good has come out this year. But I watched Drop, and I had a great time with it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think Christopher Landon is actually like a pretty good director. I think he's got a lot of style and verve, and makes very fun movies. I like the Happy Death Day movies. And Drop, I think, is a really effective, fun thriller without being too terribly heavy. It has a lot of expressionistic flourishes to it that I really enjoyed. And I'm buying Brandon Sklenar stock.
Oh, you are.
That guy is charming.
Wasn't he
I'm
in?
in.
Wasn't he in the Lively film last year too?
It ends with us.
Yeah,
He's good in that as well.
yeah. Have you watched the new Simple Favor?
No, that isn't out on Netflix yet, is it?
No, it's on Amazon
It's on
Prime.
Prime.
Oh, is it Amazon? Is it
Yeah,
out yet?
it's out.
Oh, no, I need to check it out.
Well, you're a
I
big
like A Simple Favor.
yeah. Well, you're a big Lively person. You stand her.
Where do we stand on that? Whose team are we on?
Oh, definitely Blake.
Okay.
Honestly, just I'm on the side of just getting a settlement and everybody moving on.
He seems like a real
They're both like
scuzzball.
all of it is just like, guys, this movie came out a year ago. Please settle this so that we could, everybody can move on.
All right.
I side with her, but I really would just like it to stop because I think
Anyways.
I think the online discourse about it is truly terrible.
Drop, fun, stupid. Had a lot of fun with it.
It's a fine
the,
film.
the plot contrivances are just absolutely absurd, but it is very, very fun.
It's like big harmless fun. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterbox, Blue Sky Ryan McQuade 77. You can find my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, main show, it's where we Jay, Karen, and everybody else on the team does a lot of fun stuff. iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews. While you're on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. Best place to get all of our news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, sent to you guys all in one place. Recommendation, you know what? It's that time of the year for us to rewatch some Mission Impossible movies. I've done the rewatch. I'm halfway through it at this point. Two's still, you know what I realized, Karen? Two, it was the first film from Tom Cruise I saw in theaters.
Wow.
Mission Impossible 2.
It's got those
I always
sunglasses.
forget how young you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't go to Magnolia or Jerry Maguire. But I did. It
Mine
wasn't
was Top Gun, so
it wasn't the first one I ever saw. I mean, I saw A Few Good Men on television. But in the theater, the first one I ever saw was Mission Impossible 2. But the one I would recommend really everybody watching, and it honestly it gets better every single time I watch it, is the first Mission Impossible. That one,
It rules.
it rules. De Palma's crazy work with that camera. It so tight, and then the way that this franchise is sort of wrapping itself up, it calls back a lot to McQuarrie has called a lot back to that first film, a lot in Fallout, in Dead Reckoning, and I'm assuming in the Final Reckoning as well. Just one of De Palma's best. Cruise is incredible, showcasing why he's a movie star.
I love the first scene in that movie where they just kill a bunch of.
Yeah. Well, you know that it was like supposed
kill the
to.
entire cast.
It was supposed to be the original television cast. They wanted to bring them all back, and all those actors
I
said
thought they picked Emilio.
Yeah.
Love seeing Emilio.
Yeah, they were like, we're not doing this. We're not going to kill these characters that we spent all these years doing it. And then they
I was just looking.
and that cast and killed it.
You know what the first movie, I'm pretty sure my first Tom Cruise movie in a theater was?
What's that, buddy?
War of the Worlds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to see anything.
Well, that's true. But you were allowed to see that one? That's like
Well, I was old
That's a
enough
dark
then that
movie.
I got to start choosing what I watched because that one's PG-13 and I was over 13 at that point.
that movie's terrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It got some bad stuff, but it has some really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish
I
Spielberg
love
and
that Spielberg era.
Mhm.
Cruise would work together one more time. I thought they actually really, really worked well together.
Yeah.
Well, shouldn't have jumped on the damn couch. I mean, that is what broke them up.
Yeah, but now they seem to be like really good friends again because like there was that Academy lunch during the Top Gun thing where
I'm
Spielberg ran up to
thinking
Spielberg.
publicly
He
pleasant to each other.
he went up to him and said, "You literally changed the theatrical experience." And they hugged and embraced. Like it was. I think that they could make one more. Come on, Tom, do it one more time with Steven. That would be great.
No, just keep working with Inarritu.
I think Cruise is going to work with Nolan one of these days. I feel it in my bones. He's going to work with them because those are big filmmakers. You know what I mean? But yeah, the Inarritu. That's such a weird pair. Anyway, Mission Impossible, De Palma. Go see that film. Next week we will be back. We will be wrapping up our Peter Jackson movie series with a review of the Hobbit trilogy. That's right. First time ever, we're doing 3 movies because we're not giving you 3 Hobbit episodes because that would just be
We
very
lose all of our listenership.
yeah, we will lose you all. So we are going to do one episode over the entire trilogy. We have a really great fun guest that once again we did not put a gun to their head to to do that, but and then we will give our final rankings, and then Peter Jackson, Jay, it'll be done.
over.
It'll be done. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.